Donovan Mitchell.
Kersey Cavs, FanDuel Sports Network, Ohio. Good guys winning 133-107. Mitchell, 20 of his 35 points in the third quarter. Cavs win the first of two straight in Philly. The news not all good for the Cavs. Darius Garland had to leave the game in the third quarter with an injury to his right foot. Garland had 20 points before leaving the game. Sam Merrill also left the game early, injury to his right hand. It's expected that both will miss Friday night's matchup against the Sixers. Mayor Kate Cabot of Cleveland.com reports the Browns plan to ask to talk with Rams defense coordinator Chris Shula in relation to their head coach opening. Meanwhile, the Browns also expect to interview Rams pass game coordinator Nate Scheelhaus either tomorrow or Saturday, and then talk with Jacksonville offense coordinator Grant Udinski on Saturday. Reports say former Ravens head coach John Harbaugh reaching an agreement very soon to become the new head coach with the New York Giants. Can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next, now for the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima. Garland is picked up by George on the switch. He'll shovel one to Tyson. Tyson finds Mitchell. Mitchell for a spot on rhythm three. He makes no mistake. Meanwhile, here's Donovan Mitchell. Goes over the top of Paul George. Donovan Mitchell with a jaw-dropping move gives the Cavaliers their largest lead.
It's great. I think full 48 minutes. We got to do it again on Friday, right? Like this was it's great to watch both ends of the floor. And I mean, that's a really good team over there. But now it's kind of like a playoff vibe, right? You win game one on the road, can you go out there and win game two? Because I promise you they're going to come out with a lot more fire and whatnot. So we got to be ready for it and continue to do what we do.
It wasn't just a win, but how we played. 41 assists on 50 made baskets, I think. It was kind of Cavs basketball, the way we moved it. And then defensively we were good. J.A. and Evan started it and executed the game plan.
We put 48 minutes together. We played team defense, and we came out from the jump really, really well, and then we came out in the third really good. So I feel like if we do that consistently, we're going to win a lot of games around here.
You come out even more ready on Friday, right? So be ready for that as well. Like that's kind of where our mindset is. It's like we did a lot of things well. That's phenomenal. That's great. But like, be ready. It's game two on Friday.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan. Courtesy of FanDuel. Go Cavs.
Domination.
Sorry.
Let's go.
Lima said something ridiculous right before we went on the air about Mark Jones saying fresh as Febreze.
and it's no offense. John Michael, he belongs at my church, but I wanted to get some national flavor yesterday.
Fresh as Febreze.
So I wanted to hear what the cat, and I didn't know if we were going to get the Charles Barkley. Apparently, Charles Barkley just doesn't work for 3 months, and then we'll see him again come playoffs. Like they did, 4 weeks at the start of the year.
You want to work out in this weather? You're Charles Barkley. If you get it the way you want it, you ain't gonna work out in this weather. No,
they do the shows inside, Ken.
Yeah, we still got to travel, and depending on where they do it, I mean, Connecticut weather can't be as good as this. So.
Hellacious on the way in, by the way.
Oh, my God.
That was honestly
so bad.
I don't remember specific dates of commutes. I don't have a diary. But that was the slowest.
I have my Rand McNally travel journal that I write
Did you jot some notes?
Of course.
Today was the slowest drive-in I've had since I started working here.
You keep going to the highway. I've told you.
I know, but
I thought about
your way in.
I thought about shut up. You're gonna give it away to everybody.
Part of me likes honestly.
At 4 o'clock, I'm the only one there. I got
me,
sideways. I went backwards at one point. It was cool.
Yeah, but how did you know it was touched? Like you don't know until you get there.
Because they're good communities that you drive through, and it's one of their major roads. They actually hit them. It's Avon Lake. It's Bay. It's Rocky River. It's Lakewood. And then you hit West 117th, and good luck to you. But you make it most of the way in.
There was one lane in from basically Rocky River to 117th.
Yeah.
Then there were no lanes. It was choose your own adventure.
Yeah, it was.
You've got to be Lewis and Clark. You're forging new trails.
Really?
Oh,
now
just
you're
avoid the
expeditionary mission.
It's basically how it goes, man. It's basically how it is.
But we got there. We did get there.
We did. Be careful on the way out there, on the way in, wherever you're going today.
Your kids are probably off school stay home.
Yeah, I imagine they are. I got the call on the way in.
Izzy's staying home.
Oh, they waited until today to cancel it?
Oh, yours canceled last night.
We canceled.
We
might have started before you guys did, but
5:05 is when they called.
We canceled 8:30. It was right about the time that Darius Garland was laying on the court. That's when I got the phone call.
Oh, 5:20.
And that was in between the 34 references of room service from Mark Jones yesterday.
So
I'm thinking, what is Tim Legler thinking while he's sitting next to a guy who's just pulled the string? Room service, fresh as Febreze. Like, what is Tim Legler thinking?
Not say freshest Febreze.
Yes, he did at the end.
No way.
To throw it back to Brian Windhorst.
No way. That is sweet, sassy Molassy. There's no way he said freshest Febreze.
He did. He said freshest Febreze.
No, he
if someone can find it and tweet it at us, we'll get it.
Did he fly out last night, or is he still in town? We gotta send a pack of dogs to go out and mush him in here and have him explain freshest Febreze.
It was in Philly,
in Philadelphia.
That's right. I don't care. Bring him out here. I forgot.
We've got stuffed Balto over at the Natural History Museum if you want to get him.
I'm sorry. I was thinking about it. I forgot. I'm sorry.
All right, by the way, my text. My night and morning disaster, night sweats, you snoring, Dora upstairs, Izzy never back to sleep, Mason now up, Dora threw up, laundry room.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
We'll be dealing with that this morning.
Good.
Should I chart it? And put a little graphic of the vomit in the right-hand corner?
You put it under V. The V section.
At least you guys still have your health. So I watched the FanDuel yesterday, but I was sitting in bed. Like, the neighbors were over, and I'm like, I'm going to bed. I went upstairs, and I'm watching it. And, of course, every time you go ripping on Evan Mobley, oh, by the way, John Harbaugh is going to take the Giants' job. There's way too much going on at 6 a.m.
And Dante Moore is staying at Oregon.
Yeah, Dante Moore staying at Oregon. And as I told you on the phone, Mr. Steinbrenner's here. George is dead. Call me back.
Call me back.
So I watched a FanDuel broadcast last night. Every time we talk trash about Evan Mobley, he plays like Tim Duncan. I swear. Tomorrow morning, remind me. We're just going to spend parts of segments where I rip on Evan Mobley personally. Like, I'm going to get personal and nasty about it.
We should take calls, just have one by one people rip into him.
Every time we go ripping on Evan Mobley, like yesterday, I was fit to be tied over the loss to the Jazz, and it was, one thing after another. And I just said, what are we doing here? Like, every single day, we have these problems. I'm sick and tired of it. And then you have this game where he goes out there and he plays like one of the greats of this game. Like, I wrote down, have you given up on Mobley being special? Is what I wrote, because I really did. I'm like, they're going to go out there at Philly and they're going to suck up the room, and that's going to be the end of this. No, Evan Mobley goes out there and has a fantastic first half. He's fine in the second half. They didn't really need him that much. And they go out there, they beat the brakes off Philadelphia. And I'm going, what? Every time I say the nastiest things about the Cavs. So it's like, well, no, I'm going to spend parts of the segments tomorrow before the second. Wait a minute.
They play tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, right?
Tomorrow night. In Philly again.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know yesterday I think I said it was a home and home, but it's in Philly again.
Yes. So they play at Philly again tomorrow. And I just thought, I was like, well, I'll just rip them parts of segments tomorrow. Might as well. If he's going to play like Tim Duncan, then I might as well just rip him parts of segments tomorrow. That might as well be the way it goes. So there you go.
I mean, it was, if you would have told me before the game, hey, there would be a non-competitive game in the fourth quarter, I'd be like, oh boy, get ready. And instead, they got off to that great start in the first quarter. Things tightened up a little bit, and then Donovan Mitchell just absolutely took over in the third quarter. What do you have, 20-some points in the third? And that was it. Like, the crowd was deflated. There was a stretch a little earlier in the third where they went on a 14-2 run, the 76ers, and that had only gotten the lead down to, I think, 10, and they had a wide-open three. Philly misses a wide-open three, and then Donovan Mitchell comes down 3, and it felt like game over. And they were deflated because moments before, Embiid was motioning to the crowd. This was as healthy as Embiid has been in a while. And he had 6 turnovers. You see him trying to dribble the ball early on. But he actually started playing better. He was jumping into the crowd. So they thought, oh, here we go. 76ers are going to put their foot on the gas, and they're going to make it up. And they couldn't buy a bucket, and the Cavs just kept pushing the ball in transition. Philly wouldn't get back. and you caught them on an off shooting night. Maxey had one of his worst games of the year. Yesterday, I kept saying, man, have you watched Maxey? He's averaging 30 a game. Nope, not last night. He was terrible.
Thought it was 31 a game coming in.
Yeah.
And Joel Embiid was, 26 a game in the month of January. So, but again, I watched on the FanDuel thing last night.
Mobley had 4 blocks.
Mute, so I did not hear Mark Jones say fresh just for Breeze. There is one not so good thing out of this where we have some confusion here. So I saw Tom Withers say that Darius Garland hurt his foot, but then I saw that it was his other foot. Mm-hmm. And then Kenny Atkinson in the postgame said this about Darius Garland, who finished with 20 points on the night. Hit it.
What is the injury to Darius?
His toe.
His toe.
Right? I'm pretty sure it's that. Yeah, same toe.
So same toe, according to Kenny Atkinson.
But that's not what he was grabbing at when he was on the court.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And that's not what Mark Jackson on the Mark Jones on the ESPN broadcast said. His right foot, it was his left great toe. This is his right foot.
It was pretty clearly his right that I thought it was his ankle at first.
Right.
The way that it kind of contorted while he was twisting on the ground. And so when they said toe, I'm like, oh no, is it the other one? Are we back to the other toe? So as of right now, we have the coach saying one thing, we have the report saying another. Have we gotten it cleared up?
I don't think
Not
we
that
probably
I've seen
won't
this
have
morning
anything
so far.
We probably won't have anything honestly cleared up until shoot around. Are they shooting around today? They probably will. Light workout
somewhere in Philly.
So we probably won't hear anything until the shoot around somewhere out in Philadelphia. That's probably what we'll hear. So even when you win, it's like, well, okay, here we are with this again. Because flatly, this is the way it goes. Is they're not as great as they were last year. Teams have learned to play them. Teams have learned to shove them around. I'm not trying to be a downer after a great win. It was a great win over Philadelphia, all right? But when you have a guy who you lose like that, you got to discuss it. You need everybody to have any sort of a shot whatsoever. And there were several people when we were arguing yesterday, it wasn't even an argue. This was just basically an airing of grievances. There were a couple people going, guys, you look at the East, really everybody in the last 10 is not doing very well. They're basically everybody's about 500. I'm like, okay, that's great. But again, this should be a better team than 22-19 going into last night, now 23-19. And you need everybody there. So as great as this was, now I still have to check the phones and check everything today to see how Darius Garland is going into the future. Because it's very confusing. He was grabbing at his other foot. You saw it's like, well, he has an injury, but it wasn't the same injury. And then Kenny Atkinson at the end of the game says that.
Yeah, so on ESPN, it says Garland exited to the locker room late in the third quarter with a right foot injury, and we'll finish with the stats, right? And then it says an update on the status should follow postgame, though it's worth noting the injury affects the opposite foot from the one that required offseason surgery. But then Kenny Atkinson said it was the
same thing.
Now, Fedor wrote he was in good spirits after the game, but doubtful for Friday.
Correct.
So, this was the litmus test game. I mean, if Garland and Merrill aren't playing on Friday.
Merrill's doubtful for Friday, too, yeah.
That was the hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Friday night when, the college football national championship should be playing, but it's not.
Well, then you got nothing to get in the way of you for the Cavs game. You can watch the Cavs play.
I just think this was the one. This was important. I'm not going to lose my mind if they lose shorthanded on Friday. And who knows if Joel Embiid will even play. But it was impressive. I want that to be the story. I know that the Garland injury stuff, there's been a lot of days, there's been a lot of nights where I'm like, is he even going to make it through this year? So that absolutely sucks. He was looking like special Darius Garland last night before that injury, too.
Well, it would be easier. Honestly, it would be easier if you had an excuse. I can't offer excuses. I can't author them because you have teams that you lose to that have injuries themselves. And I know that Kenny's been forced to do a lot of different things, but it does take away because now I'm nervous for the future because you got to have him. You got to have him there. And if you don't have him there, like Friday's Friday, okay, fine. So if you end up 23-20, you split the series over there. That's fine. I don't care. But if you end up being if this ends up being a long-term problem, and it kind of is, that's his career in so many ways. If this ends up being more of a long-term problem, it's just another e-brake on a season that has been nothing but fits and starts. Yes.
Well, you brought up yesterday that was the litmus test for you guys, right? I think Friday's more of a litmus test to me. I've never expected Darius Garland to be fully healthy in the postseason, especially. I just haven't expected that all season, especially the way that last year ended in the surgery and all that. And so, to me, on Friday, being down your shooters, right, with Sam Merrill out and with Garland, who's been, played decent when he was on the court last night.
Is even more on Evan Mobley, is what you're saying?
Yeah. To see if he can really step up. See if we're getting the Utah Jazz Evan Mobley or the one we saw last night.
All right, what about Joel Embiid? Like, I can't guarantee Joel Embiid's going to play every... I mean, he didn't play in November against us. He did play last night. Never worried what the other teams do. Well, but you say that now, but then again, if they go out there and they hammer Philadelphia again some way, somehow, and Joel Embiid isn't on the floor, that's the first thing everybody says. Or if Tyrese Maxey were to be out on the floor.
I'm just not worried about the other rosters because I watched them lose to a Pacers team where I didn't know any of the other players.
It's fair point. It's a fair point.
What would Owen do if we were one of those organizations like Sacramento that are perpetually
probably not watch basketball at all?
He wouldn't watch at all. He wouldn't watch at all.
Like that, their situations seem absolutely hopeless.
It's true.
Yeah.
He is a like.
I love watching the Cavs. It's very fun. I'm frustrated by the season.
We make jokes about like football. I've always been able to put on the NBA in the background and just have it on in the background while things are going on. And I really got into that doing the night show 14 years ago, to be honest with you, because I'd always have West Coast games on by the time I got home. I'd get home at 12:15, and there it was. And it's been that way, but no, I'm not ripping on Owen over here, but in that position, Kenny was that way, was he not? Where it's like, hey, if the Cavs are good, he'll pay a little bit of attention to the Cavs, but then Kenny would just say basketball. And Owen's not just basketball, but it's Owen's a baseball guy.
I can have an appreciation for sport.
Yeah, and that's fair. But I'm not ripping you for this. It's the same thing with, I think, a lot of fans out there. If they were just a 19-win team, and someday they'll have to be that way again, or if they were Sacramento, which has basically been the Browns of the NBA, he wouldn't have anything to say.
There wouldn't be anything basketball in general. I don't care about throwing a ball through a hoop. I care about Cleveland. I care about supporting Cleveland. I enjoy the Cavaliers.
But if they were terrible
it's nice to
every
have
year,
some hometown pride.
If they were terrible every year, like football's fish in a barrel here. Basketball, I think basketball works in the city of Cleveland, but I don't fault you for that. I mean, it's up to them to go out and get your attention for that. And it's a great basketball team, but yes, now, for the most part, it's either been a massive disappointment or a run of bad luck. I mean, guys getting hurt. I'm sure Darius Garland's doing everything he can to make sure he's healthy every single year. It is frustrating because he is diminutive in size. We have the CSU game tonight against Green Bay. Doug Gotlieb's going to join us on the show at 7:20. We will be out there for Country Western night because we have both kinds, country and Western. And hindsight might have landed you a legend. Lima explains in 5 minutes. Be careful on the roads out there, and if you ain't going anywhere, well, turn us on YouTube. No better time to subscribe. 92.3 The Fan on YouTube for absolutely, positively free.
penalties decline.
We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
He's a fighter, dog. It's one of those things where it's like you see that and you have to go from concern to like, okay, time to kind of like go mode. You know, the other team maybe see that, maybe like, all right, like, here we go. You know what I'm saying? Because he was hooping. He was getting downhill, creating and setting the tone. So obviously there's concern always, right? That's my brother. But in the same token, it's like, all right, we're going to respond back, which is what I'm great we did.
That's Mitchell on Darius Garland. Donovan Mitchell on Darius Garland. 1 hour from now, Doug Gotlieb going to join us on the show. Radio show host on hiatus. On hiatus, you would say, yes. And then, of course, the current head coach of the Green Bay Phoenix. They're in town to take on CSU, and we will be at that game tonight for Country Western night tonight. Apparently, there's going to be a mechanical bull at this event.
They were
allegedly.
They were working on the logistics of that.
You ain't going to be able to drag that thing in there. We'll find out. Hopefully, we'll be able to ride it. I've never ridden a mechanical bull in my life. No, never.
We used to have the old the Cadillac Ranch Bar down here, I think, in downtown. They had one. And I would just see...
There was one in Kent
I would
years
see
ago.
these bachelorette parties, and women would just get tossed. And I'm like, they had to have signed a waiver,
well,
right?
Well, that's another thing. I might have to wear, like, full-on bodysuit underneath. I'm glad you brought that up. Be careful on the roads out there today. They're terrible if you didn't notice. I would go to Kent and I forget the name of the damn bar. I'm going to get a bunch of tweets, I guarantee it. I forget the name of the bar. It was like right in downtown Kent. And you'd go there and they had a mechanical bull. And you're exactly right. The bachelor party and the college girls would ride the mechanical bull. And I'm sorry, like, you would just see full frontal nudity.
Yeah.
They'd get tossed off it and it's there for everybody to see.
A lot of women go commando.
A lot of women are exactly right. They get tossed off, and it's all there.
Do they not know? Did they forget what they wore or didn't wear beforehand?
There's a couple of drinks, and their girlfriends talk them into it, and up they go, and they're wearing heels for crying out loud up on the thing, and they get tossed in 2 seconds, and they're rolling all over the place, and there it is. And I think about that, and I go, I can't let my big fat gut out for everybody to see when that goes down, because I'm actually kind of afraid to do it. I've never done it. And it looks kind of taxing.
Now, here's the question.
I know Herbert Hoover rode a mechanical bull for exercise, but you didn't know that.
I did not know that.
He did, yes.
It sounds like he was doing it for the cheap thrill.
Also threw medicine balls out there.
He was doing real...
They called it Hoover ball.
No kidding.
I swear to God. Yeah. Look it up, man.
Is that anything like Marty Ball?
No. I want to see that. Although, again, it's supposed to be anxiety ridden.
Either way, continue.
So, if something happens to me or you, do we go after our station? Because it's a station event.
Oh,
are we protected?
No. I have 5 lawyers. They have more. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do anything. It's part of the job hazard of what we'll have to deal with. All right, you ready to troll me? Well, don't. I don't want to say it's a troll because I think a lot of people agree with you. So overnight, John Harbaugh, it looks like he's going to. The deal isn't done yet, but it seems that John Harbaugh is going to sign with the New York Giants to be their head coach, which is crazy because I told a friend of mine is a big time Titans fan, and he was all excited. He texted me that here comes John Harbaugh going to go meet, and I go, you'll enjoy Kevin. He's a good man, and he'll do a very good job for you. And you're going to enjoy him. He goes, no, it says John. I go, yeah, enjoy Kevin. You're getting Kevin. and maybe they will, maybe they won't at this point. I don't know. But John Harbaugh's going to go to the Giants. And the first thing you said to me when you walked in the door, other than freshest Febreze from Mark Jones, was what?
Would Harbaugh have picked the Browns if we would have taken Jackson Dart last year? And I'm not one of those crowning Jackson Dart.
This is hindsight.
I have no idea. It's 100% hindsight. I have no idea if Jackson Dart he plays such a reckless style. He was a fun watch. He also had one of the worst games I've ever seen by any quarterback, and we've seen a bunch of them by any rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I know.
But he also showed he could make every throw on the field. He could take off. He can bulldoze guys. He's an exciting player.
He is. He is an exciting player.
he playing that way, he's not going to play 10 years. Well, Harbaugh is not going to coach 10 years.
It doesn't. I don't care. I don't think anybody cares about that. I don't know how many guys. Like, I think the days that maybe the 20-year career might be over. I think, let's give me. I remember Dustin and I had a great big argument about Brandon Weeden years ago, and I was like, I don't want any part of him. And one of the things I did say was he's too old. I'm going to get 5 years out of him. And I remember we had Gil Brandt on, the late great Gil Brandt. And he's like, 5 years is better than what you've had. And I was like, you know what? Can't use that argument. That's fine. And I think about that argument when it comes to some of these guys now. It's like, the wear and tear. It's like, you know what? I'll worry about after 10 years when we get to after 10 years. Let's start with year 1 and then year 2 and work our way out from there. But I didn't listen. I wasn't going to take him number 2 overall. We had one call from one guy. I wish I could remember what his name was. We had one call from one guy who wanted, and he was dead serious and called more than once, who said he wanted to take Jackson Dart number 2 overall. And the internet railed on him, and we railed on him, and maybe Jackson Dart is worth number 2 overall in that draft class. Now, still, you were still looking at a 1-quarterback draft class. That all said, if you took Jackson Dart, it's not about John Harbaugh choosing you. If you took Jackson Dart, I think Kevin Stefanski's probably still here, is he not?
Oh, because they would have won enough games. Jackson played at a good enough level.
Yes. Is he not still here? But then again, would he have played at a high enough level? I mean, did they move on from Brian Daboll halfway through the year? I believe they did. Yes, because they had Mike Kafka halfway through. If you had him play, would he have played well enough to overcome your special teams gaffes? I don't know. These are unanswerable questions here. But yes, if you had, let's call it what it is. If you had a clear quarterback situation, John Harbaugh might have given you the time of day. I'm not going to say he would be here, but he might have given you the time of day. He wasn't going to give you the time of day, I don't think, not just because of the quarterback situation, because I think that turns into the Lloyd, Jackson, you to a certain degree, Shador thing. I'm not going to say that, but you have your quarterback situation where he's not through the woods yet. Everybody else is either you don't want to play him or you don't want to pay him and you don't want to see him anymore. So you have this quarterback room that is in flux, to be nice about it. Then you have your cap spots where, I know you can move guys up, but you still need work on your roster. They still need work on their roster too. But hey, when you have a guy that you think you can play with at the quarterback position, it's just going to clear a lot of things.
Ironically, remember,
I think Baltimore, I might feel worse if I'm real quick. I think I might feel worse if I were a Titans fan, frankly.
Yeah, I think there was some excitement at the end of the year by Cam. It took a long time to get there. Yeah. But ironically, Baltimore was one of the reported teams that wanted to draft Shador Sanders. Who knows if that was Harbaugh or if that was the people around him? I don't know. Sometimes when this goes into a little bit of flux. Hey, the owner was just quoted at the press conference the other day when he was asked, "Hey, how much a role is your quarterback, Lamar, your 2-time MVP, in shaping the roster or the coaches?" And he goes, "None. Absolutely zero." He just flat out said it. It's kind of in a way refreshing. I was shocked that he said it, but it was refreshing to hear.
Well, yeah, because
the owners say that.
And I think it depends on what that quarterback wants, because I think that you have ebbs and flows of power and too much power. Here, we gave way too much power way too soon. Our quarterback at that time was not ready to handle that power, and he's even admitted that. Down in Cincinnati, if Joe Burrow didn't have as much power as he did, because he basically has the power down there, would they not have T. Higgins, but would they have a better defense?
Yeah, I think it was a mistake. I think looking back, it was a mistake to go after Higgins as opposed to all the help that Burrow needs.
I still think that there's a push and pull with all this, and I don't think anybody is really, I don't know if anything's damning, at least right now. Joe Burrow still has a future ahead of him, and certainly Lamar Jackson does. But I think that this is one of the things that you bring into here is where if I was Tennessee, I'd feel worse about it. If I was the Browns, you're looking at this situation going, I have a legendary head coach who really didn't consider us. And why didn't he really consider us? Well, it's not just the quarterback spot. I think that plays a role into it. Let's not be stupid. But why wouldn't he consider us? Well, there's plenty of reasons for it. The rumors about the ownership being too involved in it, the questions of Andrew Berry, the stability of if you don't have a great season, what happens? Do you have to have Andrew Berry? Do you have to have Jim Schwartz? Or are you just going to not go to a team? It could be as simple as I'm not going to go to a team in a division, and I'm not going to go back to Baltimore right off the rip, right then and there. Even if you go back to Baltimore once as the head coach of the Giants. I don't know what their schedule is coming up. You can get that out of the way. It's not like you're going back every single year and then you're welcoming them there and you're not answering all those questions twice a year and everything like that. And you're not having to deal with that. And that might just be what he wants. It's also, let's be honest, it's a major market, New York City, and their ownership group, when you look at Tennessee and our ownership group, it is a long-standing old family with the Tishes as well, old families that are going to give you as much power as possible. Our situation is in a state of flux, and it could be even more if you don't win enough games next year, Tone. And then you look down in Tennessee, that lady won't even leave her house.
No.
For crying out loud. So, I mean, it really was. It was the Giants and everybody else. If he signs this deal, it was the Giants and everybody else. Now, if this falls through, yeah, let's go crazy. But the whole, well, we needed to get him. I got some of that overnight, and I go, well, we didn't even get in the room with him. So, yeah, I wish we had a better situation, but if we had a better situation, guys, Kevin would still be the head coach. Would he not?
Yeah, and all these situations have inherent flaws with them, and that's why they are open for business to begin with.
And let me make it straight. It's not an excuse. You've created your own situation, how you've created it, and you'll have to answer for it by the type of coaches that you can and can't get. You will have to answer for that, and they are right now, as the words are being said, and as John Harbaugh may very well be the first domino to fall as the head coach of the New York Giants. They answer to their former mistakes. But if they had a better situation, Kevin is still a pretty strong commodity out there. You'd still have Kevin Stefanski if you had a better situation.
So do you think I'm overstating it when I kind of simplified the whole thing and said,
yes,
yeah, they have Jackson Dart.
Yes.
We don't really have our quarterback situation settled.
Because if we had Jackson Dart, I think our head coaching situation would be settled, and we'd be talking a hell of a lot more about the weather out there, and I don't think we'd care nearly as much about a quarterback that we think might have made a mistake yesterday, because it's like yelling at a contestant on Deal or No Deal in 5 minutes on The Fan.
Anthony Lima for Van Scoy hair. If you're a man or a woman in Northeast Ohio, you want fuller, thicker hair, you want to restore that hairline, you want to make yourself look a little bit younger, or like you did 5-10 years ago. Good news is Van Scoy is here to the rescue because they have all the proven solutions.
261 north at 42 and 271 north at Rockside. This is Joe Checkeye for 92.3 The Fan.
Catch the latest Browns news all offseason long. Stream us on the Odyssey app and on your smart speaker by telling Alexa to play 92.3 The Fan.
I was on the phone with you when this happened yesterday. I was absolutely shocked. You could hear it in my voice. Dante Moore is going to go back to college.
I was stunned.
I was shocked. I mean, absolutely. You could hear it in my voice. I was sitting at my desk. I go, what? He's doing what? Because I said, hey, 2:30, they're going to make this announcement, and you could not believe it. And then it kind of took me out of the phone call because I'm reading the stuff. I go, I can't believe this is going on. And I remember I heard Ross Tucker. I totally agreed with Ross Tucker. What was it, 2 weeks ago, maybe last week, when he was debating with Nick about Dante Moore going back. And, Nick's whole point was, he could be getting a $300 million contract with more time. And it's like, well, let's worry about the first contract first, because I still think I'm trying to figure out a way that this isn't a mistake, at least monetarily. Now, you could say, hey, he's only played in how many games, 15 or something like that. It's not been a whole lot. 20, I think it is. If you play in 20 games and you go through another season, it's like, hey, I thought he had a better year. I thought that if he comes out, people are going to rip him and because of the Indiana game and all that other stuff. And it's like, well, you only lost to Indiana twice. Indiana's probably going to win the national championship coming up on Monday. I'll pick them. But I think it's a little bit overrated. And he can go back. He'll make the $6 million or whatever they're saying he's going to make back at Oregon. And that's nothing to fart at, obviously. But when you're going out to the number 2 pick, probably, I'm just thinking, boy, somebody really doesn't want to play for the Jets. Lord almighty, he just must not like that. And he must think that that's a terrible investment, which is, I'm not trying to point fingers. I understand our situation, and we're going to have our ducks in a row someday as it's looking right now. So I can't go out there and just go ripping the Jets all day long over a guy not wanting to play for him. Because I think that had certain motivations to it as well.
You think it's as simple as that, though?
I don't think it's that simple, but I think that might be one of the prevailing things, because we've been talking about, well, we could trade up for Dante Moore. We could trade up. I'm like, why would the Jets trade out at number 2? Why would they trade out at number 2? Well, they got all these picks. Yes, and they can use all those picks to help out Dante Moore, because I'm already getting the arguments where he could very well be QB1. My argument against him going back, and I'm sure you're going to say the same thing, so I don't know how far we really have to go on all this, is that you'll probably be number 2 again next year. Well, if you play just as well as you did this year.
If all goes well.
Exactly. If you play just as well as you did this year, and he played really well.
Yeah.
30-plus touchdowns, only 10 picks. He's a really good QB.
His arm talent is off the charts.
And the talent is there. Now, I thought that there were a couple things that he threw into that were problems. But I'm going, if Arch Manning, if he has a full year, like the second half of this last year,
he's going number 1.
He's going to go number 1. And we could all rant and rave and yell at each other about it. Owners are owners. That last name is there. It's just going to happen. It's just business. So he could play really well. You'll still be taking number 2 overall. So, yeah, I guess you could make an extra $6 million, maybe roll the dice on who's going to take you at number 2 overall. Probably still not going to be a great spot.
Probably could be the Jets.
Or... You're exactly right about that. Or you could take the $50+ million guaranteed now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see the numbers. I thought I saw $55 million guaranteed, but 30 at signing bonus or 35 at signing bonus. So $6 million pales in comparison to that. I know you can get crazy down into the weeds, as Ross Tucker and Nick Wilson did last week, and talk about the second contract. Well, let's slow down on that. The thing that I keep thinking about, and I know there are examples on both sides of the coin, and eventually you have to make your decision. If you're doing it the 1980s sitcom style and doing the pros and the cons, and you're actually taking to the notepad and putting them out there, there is a robust, cataloging of both sides of this. My thing I come back to is I can't get Cardell Jones or Drew Aller out of my head. And I know not in the NIL era for Cardell Jones, although what do we know now about some of the schools that were doing well during that era?
Yeah.
Some guys were getting money. Some guys were finding a way. Maybe not the money today that's available. But Cardell Jones, for those that don't remember, went on this amazing, 4-game run.
Yeah.
Wins the national championship.
We're talking about him being a first-round pick?
He's 6'5", cannon arm, beautiful deep ball. This is what we said after 4 games. And he was also able to truck guys. You want to talk about a bush push? Like, he could do all that stuff. You saw it on display in route to a national championship in 2014 with Ohio State. And I remember we were here getting ready for an announcement. Oh, my God, Cardell Jones. And we had experts on all day, all night. And these experts all came on and said, he is going in the top 5 of the draft. Not first round. He is going in the top 5 because even though he's totally inexperienced, he came from Ohio State. He played his best in the biggest games. Look at his size. Look at his arm. And there are going to be a bunch of NFL coaches that say, I want that. I can work on that.
Yeah.
And what did he do? He came back, and Ohio State played like 3 quarterbacks the next year, and it was a total disaster. He gets drafted in the 4th round, I think it was. And, who knows? He might have been a bust in the first round, but the difference would have been the guaranteed money.
He's the cautionary tale. Now, he played, that was such an obscene amount or little amount of games to play that it would have hit him. He got exposed that second year, last year. I hate to say it. But on the other side of it, it's like, all right, like Justin Herbert went back, and there were a lot of people who were upset with Justin Herbert when he went back. He's afraid. I think the Giants were going to take him. He's afraid. He's afraid of expectations. He's afraid of the NFL. Now, I wouldn't put him in the top 1%, but he's a pretty good quarterback, and he was certainly a better quarterback coming out than Tua
it can
out
help.
of that class.
100%. It can help guys.
So it can help. And, I mean, hey, he can get a little bit more seasoning. My issue is that there is paralysis by analysis, and so we'll probably sit there all next year, and every single throw will be dissected. See, what changes with Arch Manning, every single throw has been dissected his entire career, the entire way forward. So it's not like, well, now Arch Manning's going to be the quarterback at Texas. We were already doing that last year and really in some of the games that he was in the year before. So that's already going to happen. He's already responded to that pressure. Next year, you'd probably still be number 2. What this does for us, though, there's 2 things. One, I think Shedeur fans should be pretty excited. Because right now, after that decision, because it's like, well, we could get crazy. We could get squirrely. You do have that second first-round pick. Maybe the Jets would do it, and you know what? I'd be very leery of the Jets if they were to move out of that spot so you could go up there and get Dante Moore. What do I not know about Dante Moore? However,
but now that's out of the equation.
That's out of the equation now, and unless they do something really, really silly, which I will not like it, and some people, and so many of you guys get this confused where you go, you just love Shedeur Sanders. I like Shedeur Sanders. I don't like Ty Simpson enough to just take him at the back end of the first round just so we stop having Shedeur Sanders arguments. I want to do what I think is right.
I would not advocate for that.
For the Browns. And this is coming from you. I don't want to make the wrong investment in the first round. Because now this draft class is what? It's number 1 overall is going to be Fernando Mendoza. Then it's Ty Simpson. Then Cade Klubnik and Trinidad Chambliss, Drew Aller's in there, Garrett Nussmeier's in there. Like it went from 1 and 2 to now it feels like a 1 QB draft where maybe Ty Simpson goes up. And
I saw yesterday people slamming the draft the entire first round. They said this is one of the weaker first rounds we've had in a while. I know we get caught up in trying to overanalyze these things, and there's more talking heads than ever before.
And I think you're going to start to find more of that coming on because one, you don't have as many quarterbacks, and I think we're leery of them because of all the transferring that goes on, and I don't think that they get a whole lot of chances to show what they can do for everybody, playing in a system, learning as they go on. So there's certain things that Dante Moore can help himself with by going back. But man, I just think it's a mistake by him personally. Forget being the Browns, forget the Jets, forget everything. I felt it was like yelling at a guy on Deal or No Deal when they're like, well, I won't take this briefcase. Let's keep going. It's like, no, take the deal. Look at this deal. This is a great
It is so much money.
$50+ million guaranteed. There's a boatload of cash here. Worry about the $300 million contract when you get to the $300 million contract. You still got 4 years.
There's so many seasons you have to be healthy to get to that.
Yeah, you got to get 3 good years in, then you start talking about that second contract.
I know. Ty Simpson's name is going to now, just by default, because there's no quarterbacks, Ty Simpson's name is going to be brought up a ton.
Well, and that's another thing
And he really suffered with his line breaking down. He could not overcome, the deficiencies in the line. Now, you could probably say that about a bunch of kids in college. over the years. They did not have your quintessential normal Alabama offensive line, even though the stars might have been there in recruiting, but they certainly didn't play like it. Was not one of your Nick Saban offensive lines, that for sure. I want to keep an open mind on all of this. I think you're right. When I heard you first say this is really good for Shedeur Sanders, I kind of thought the same, but I'm trying to keep an open mind on all of this. And look, I don't know if Jackson Dart is going to be really good. I don't know if Tyler Shook is going to be really good. I know both of them flashed in a big way this year, just like Shedeur flashed at times.
Listen,
those guys flashed too, so I don't want to totally eliminate Ty Simpson from the equation.
I don't know what Grant Udinski will say when he interviews, or Nate Scheelhaus will say when he interviews, or anything like that. Which some people thought Grant Udinski had already interviewed. He's not interviewed yet with the Browns. I don't know. Maybe they just can't take Shedeur and you got to move on. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But I look at this and I go, if it were a first-round QB, you want to make those investments, you go make those investments. Do you really want to make investments for some of the other names that are out there that might just be taking advantage of you because you're so damn desperate? And we've already talked about some of those names out there, and some of them, they are Kyler Murray is a non-starter to me. A non-starter. I'd rather slam my head in a car door than go and bring him in and have him try to start for this football team. I am dead serious about that. Tua is a non-starter for me in terms of conversation. I don't want to do that.
And you say the same for Kyler Murray?
I just said Kyler Murray. 216-474-0092.
7
Coming
years.
up at 7:20.
7 years he's had opportunities.
Doug Gotlieb's going to join us at 7:20. Green Bay head coach. And is it an insult if I say radio show host on hiatus? Think about that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to insult him.
No, it's not an insult.
Okay. Coming up next, are we going to do things with Grant Udinski's last name if we get him? What am I doing where I think a 30-year-old is a really, really, really good fit or an intriguing fit for this football team? You're going to have to talk me out of this. Ken Carman, Tone Master General on the Fan. Window Nation, 4 free for every 4 you buy. That's right, 4 free. 4 windows free for every 4 you buy. It's a
Starting at 2, we are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
The New York Giants and John Harbaugh, the former Baltimore Ravens coach, are finalizing a deal to now make him the next head coach of the New York Giants. The Giants and John Harbaugh spent Wednesday meeting together at the team's training facility. They still are working through the final details of that contract, but they are not expected to be an obstacle.
Audio courtesy of ESPN. I want to go down that rabbit hole real quick with you just for a second. Also, be careful out there. Roads are terrible. You probably have school off. Probably. So many are closed.
I was doing 15 to 20 on the freeway.
Same amount of starts as Ty Simpson
That's
and
right.
Dante Moore. Be careful out there. And if you're home and the kids are running around, no better way to shut the kids up. Not Peppa Pig. Put us on YouTube Live for free. Right there on the living room television.
If you've got a 12-year-old, they're probably watching some idiot throw a basketball off a roof into a hoop. Just watch this.
Just listen. Listen to a couple of a thin guy and a fat guy yell about quarterbacks for the next 3 hours. It's going to be great. Mary Kay Cabot going to join us this morning at 8:20. I want to know what makes Nate Shieldhouse a quote offensive wizard. Also, Darius Garland. He hurt his toe again, other foot. We'll find out as the day goes on. Darius Garland got hurt last night in the Cavs win. So there's a lot to go on throughout this day. But again, be careful as Doug Gotlieb's going to join us. Green Bay head coach, former radio show host. He's going to join us coming up at 7:20 this morning. So you asked the question. It's going crazy on social media right now. Joey did a good job with the video you asked if John Harbaugh would have... If we would have taken Jackson Dart, would John Harbaugh given us the time of day? And let me go into the rabbit hole for a second and step back out. If we would have taken Jackson Dart in the first round, not that anybody would probably go against any of this, by the way. If you take Jackson Dart in the first round, maybe you just think he's going to come to justice and we're not going to be talking about him in a couple years because maybe it's still too early. This does happen. Guys have pretty good rookie years, and then year two, they kind of get figured out and they fizzle away. If you take Jackson Dart in the first round, okay, you don't get Quinshon Judkins, because this is going to sound probably better and better is what everybody says. And Quinshon Judkins got seriously injured. Good running back, got seriously injured. Because you probably have to move back into the first round, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to remember right off the top of my head here. Go with me. You don't have Quinshon, but you have Jackson Dart. You also don't have Dylan Gabriel, because I'm taking another position. I don't need Dylan Gabriel there.
It's starting to get better and better.
So it's starting to get better and better for everybody. And then you probably still have Kevin Stefanski. And you could say, good, he's gone. You probably would have won more games.
And would you have felt better about Stefanski?
And you had to have felt better about Stefanski if you think that we got this quarterback, and you would feel better about Andrew Berry. So that's the difference a QB makes. That's why, we sit here and we grind over these QBs. If I like the guy, I like the guy. And I'm not going to have this same type of conversation about Ty Simpson going into next year as well. If Ty Simpson gets drafted at the tail end of the first round of God knows what, fine, to hell with it. I just know I don't want to make that type of investment on that guy. I think Jackson Dart has come through and has played pretty well, and obviously is playing well enough that it entices John Harbaugh enough that he's probably going to be announced as the next head coach of the Giants today. We couldn't even get him in a room. So if you can't get him in a room, fine. Wish they could have picked his brain. They couldn't do it. So you go from one well-known name, well-regarded name, to another name. And this one's off the beaten path, clearly. And I can't stop thinking how intrigued I am by him. And I can't explain it. There's something about a young guy that all these NFL guys are saying he's going to be a star. He's going to be a star. And it's like, well, if he's going to be a head coach in 2 years or next year, what am I waiting on? What am I waiting on? The Grant Yudinsky, the conversation about him. Now, again, there's been a couple of media members who said he's already interviewed. He's not interviewed with the Cleveland Browns yet. So he wowed him. He didn't wow anybody just yet. The people talking him up have enticed the Browns there. He's 30 years old, and I just can't stop thinking about, he's an offensive mind. You could keep Jim Schwartz, make him the head coach of the defense. And then you have this guy here who, I know he's not called plays. I know that that's a major sticking point for a lot of fans out there. You and I agree with each other. We do not think calling plays is extremely important, and I'm going to tell you why. Hold on. I'm not just trying to poo-poo something. It's important to owners. That's what get guys hired. So that will be a knock against Grant Udinski. But I think what much more important is their organization, their planning. That's what it is. What they lay out for an entire program for their year of what they're going to do with their football team, how they work with the people that are going to be around them. That to me is what's important. So many guys get hired as play callers, and they forget how to manage a football game. They can't manage a football game. All they can do is call plays, and they get figured out very, very, very quickly because they can't manage their defense. They can't manage their special teams. And we see it all the time. A lot of times. To me, that's why Cliff Kingsbury failed in the NFL. You don't have the other organizational pieces around you. You can call plays. So I think that, yes, play calling can be an important thing, clearly. But it's also, hey, you know what? How many plays can you call to make Dylan Gabriel a good quarterback? Where at your playbook is going to make Dylan Gabriel really good? You can make him a little better. But if you ain't got the horses, you ain't got the horses, guys. And I can say the same thing, baby, by the end of the year with Shedeur next year, or as we get ready to start the offseason with Shedeur next year. I mean, you kind of got what you got. And you can get more and you can get better, but maybe he's the guy that, if he's going to be this great big wonderkins at some point, it makes me just go, well, do I want to pass on a guy who might have some talent there? Am I nuts? Tell me I'm stupid and nuts.
Well, people. It seems like there's like a 24-hour window on all these cycles on how we talk about these coaches.
Please.
And so yesterday was the Mike McDaniel day, and today, I think a lot of people I saw on social media, because it was 4 days ago, it was Shieldhouse. Now today it's this guy, and there were a lot of comparisons to Sean McVay. Because of the age. What was McVay when he actually got hired as the head coach? How old was he?
Sean McVay was 30. Real quick, Todd Monken, according to Diana Rossini, this is verified. Todd Monken is expected to join John Harbaugh in New York with the Giants, per her source. She says this has always been the plan. So let's mark Todd Monken off. Not enough Monken.
Boy, it almost seems like it adds to the validity of the story that's why he fell out of favor quickly in Baltimore, is that he wanted Monken to stay in his spot. Either way.
So back to McVay, or back to what you were saying with McVay to Udinski.
Well, people have compared Udinski to McVay, this meteoric rise, darling of the NFL. People love the pedigree. The big difference here is that Udinski has not called the plays. McVay had been installed as the offensive coordinator, the guy, and had called plays for, I think, 2.
I thought it was 3.
So was it 3 years?
Might be 3.
So he at least got to make those mistakes, those play calling mistakes, in a role where he actually was the guy to be held accountable and all that. This has not happened in this case.
If I bring in Grant
so this would be ahead of even McVay.
Well, I'll tell you this. If I bring in Grant Udinski, I know that so many people go, well, you bring in a guy who's going to call the plays, which it used to never be that way, and we used to freak out. When you get the play calling, remember, it's always the first thing we want to take away from a guy when things start to get shaky. It was the first thing people wanted to take away from Kevin when it got shaky. Hell, I think that people thought there was too much on his plate when they went out there and they lost his first ever game to the Baltimore Ravens back in 2020. There's a lot there that we just want to nitpick on when it comes, and play calling is a very big thing to owners. So this is going to be something that's a knock against Udinski. But if I'm bringing him in, I don't think I'm going to make up a play caller, am I? Am I going to say, hey, you've never called plays, I'm going to make you a head coach, but you're also going to call plays? Maybe he can manage the offense. Maybe he can manage the entire process. And then maybe you leave. Did Tommy Rees do a terrible job play calling to you? Again,
I think it was hard to tell.
Exactly, because you don't have a lot of talent.
You didn't have anything.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm pointing out here.
I thought it was no different from Stefanski, except that you had a quarterback that would throw the ball down the field.
So the more I talk about the guy, the more I start to knock down some of the things that might be against him. And at the end of it, if you do hire him, the thing that's going to be against him is what? The talent that he has to work with? Is that it? Because if he still... Now, I'd be worried about... I will tell you this. If it's like this with McDaniel, I might be a little bit worried as time goes on. Because if this is still a 5 or a 6 win football team, you're going to have your ebbs and flows and your problems. Jim Schwartz clearly respects Kevin Stefanski as a man, as a head coach, all those things. would Jim, and I'm putting ideas out there, but if we discussed it about Mike McDaniel, who's 42 and already been a head coach, you have to wonder about Grant, a strong-willed defensive coordinator who's been in the league a long time, since 1995. Is this a guy that is going to be able to work alongside and run his defense and not permeate ideas if things start to get a little shaky? I got to wonder that. Are we willing to put aside ego and control and not step in and go, Junior doesn't know what the hell he's doing over here. This is a problem. You're going to have to wonder that, because if you bring in a 30-year-old guy, there's a lot I'm really excited about, but I also have to think about his support system. Do we have the support system? Because if they blow out Andrew Berry after a 5 or 6 win team, then here we go again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you gotta get this figured out.
Kenny,
if this is the right decision.
I'm trying to keep an open mind on every candidate. This to me seems early on this guy, but I would have said the same thing on Mike Tomlin.
Of course,
I would have said the same thing about Sean McVay. So yeah. I'm trying not to just cross people off.
Exactly.
On first impression, this guy sounds the part. I mean, I know we
watch a lot of videos, man. And I told you, Matt was telling me a couple years ago when he was up there in Minnesota, and they were bumping him up like crazy, trying to hold on to him. Kevin O'Connell loves the guy, but I also have to think about his support system that he's going to have here. Is he going to be able to get everything he is? For him personally, hey, you're 30 years old, you become the head coach of the Browns. As long as you don't go out and embarrass yourself privately in your personal life or something like that, you'll get another head coaching job. They'll blame it on the Browns. Look what the hell's going on with Kevin Stefanski. They'll just blame it on the Browns. So you can go and take a boatload of money, be a head coach in the NFL at 30 years old, roll up your sleeves, go to work, and as long as you don't act like an idiot personally, you should still be able to come away unscathed in the worst case scenario. Not unscathed, but in the worst case scenario, if you come out of this thing at 32, 33 years old and it didn't go your way, you should still be able to be a head coach again at some point in your future, unless it just goes horrifically bad. And it is the Browns, so it may very well go horrifically bad, but I could say the same thing for McDaniel and McCarthy and just about anybody else we've talked about out there. 216-474-0092. I want to pause that for a moment because we want to bring in Doug Gotlieb coming up at 7:20, even though he just stopped his radio show like a couple of weeks ago, so I'm sure he has opinions on this, including Shedeur Sanders and including Darius Garland, who unfortunately got hurt last night. We're going to be paying attention to him around shoot-around today and when they have their media availability and find out what's going on. But we're at the CSU game tonight. Doug Gotlieb, former radio show host. He's the coach of Green Bay. We bring in Doug Gotlieb coming up next on The Fan. K&K Heating and Cooling.
Pipkin joined him in New York. The Ravens offensive coordinator had recently interviewed for the Browns head coach opening. You can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel with the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Tonight, CSU, the Vikings, which I walked past an office and I already saw a Viking helmet and a cowboy hat.
Is that for you?
I don't know. It's country western night. We'll find out. The CSU Vikings take on the Green Bay Phoenix. We had Rob Summers on yesterday, the head coach of CSU. Today, radio show host on hiatus and head basketball coach for Green Bay on the Make It Right Call Kyle Wright hotline. Ladies and gentlemen, Doug Gotlieb joins us this morning. Doug, how the hell are you?
I'm good. I mean, we were greeted by what would you call that weather last night, where the sun, the lake effect was going sideways. That was when you come from Green Bay and the weather's a little bit more extreme. It's not usually everywhere we go the weather's better, and it was not last night.
Well, I was going to say, I was like, do I start off with the weather with him because it's so bad? I'm like, well, he lives in Green Bay, so it can't be. Has to be around the same. You thought that this was even worse? My God, I didn't realize it.
Well, no, we just that wind. So I live on the bay, and so like I knew what was coming here because it hits my window first. Right, it comes down from Canada, it literally comes right to the window. So it was windy yesterday, and then it kind of died down. It was just kind of a crisp winter day. Honestly, it was worse when we landed here. That's a weird one, but that's the new experience. Like my brother's an assistant at San Diego State, and he always tells me like, "Hey, you know what it is today? 75 and sunny every day." So wherever they go on the road, when they come back, the weather is better. Like we're the opposite. Right? Everywhere we go, the weather is usually weather is better, and then when we come back, there's like that depression of here we go again. But yesterday was a switch. That's all. It's just a different experience.
When did you put the radio show on pause again, Doug?
It was like the Friday after we beat Santa Barbara. So what is that? It's in December 20th.
Are you liking coaching more? It wasn't that long ago, so it's still early, but are you liking coaching more than following along with everyday things going on in the NFL and the NBA and everything like that?
I've always loved coaching. I mean, it's awesome. It gets me up in the morning. I do love sports. I got to tell you, I've avoided not talking about Shedeur for the last almost month. It's pretty awesome.
Well, you know who we're going to ask you about. I have to ask you about Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah. I actually here's what happens though, right? You guys have done this for a long time, so. Usually you can't do it unless you wake up with something to say. Right? And when it becomes less energetic, like, you're like, well, maybe it's time or whatever. I don't have the most life anyway, right? Because that's what coaching is. But I mean, I had no life at all. And it was just thing to thing to thing to thing. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like whatever you've ever dreamed of doing, this is what I'm doing. And I just felt like, I can't really say I'm going after my dream if there's any chance that there's any possibility that something's falling short because, 3 hours a day I'm doing radio. And then, there's an amount of mental prep time and what you're doing at night. But I was not prepared for how much time I have to annoy the hell out of my staff. They're like, we got it, dude. Go away.
Doug Gotlieb with us, and now you've won 6 of 7, and this is becoming a really interesting story because obviously you were a target when you tried to balance both of those things, and I laugh because when I covered Jim Boeheim up in Syracuse, I would go to practice. Boeheim would be on the treadmill for the first hour of practice, let his assistants run everything, and then he would mosey on over and hit the big talking points, and then he would go to Italian restaurant for 3 hours. So I always laughed when people were like, you need to be 24/7 coaching. And I'm like, it depends. Everybody's a little different. And now here you are. You have been able to kind of figure out what works best for you right now as your kids are playing much better basketball.
Well, I have my staff is massively improved, and they help. We're just better, and I'm sure, Cleveland State's a perfect example. This is year one, and it's a complete, you have a totally new team. It's really hard. You need some continuity and consistency, and if you don't have that, it's just difficult. And if you look at what we've done, we've changed the lineup some. We've changed how we've guarded. And the other part to it, what people don't realize is at this level, your schedule, we just opened up a murderer's row. We started 1-5. We started at Kansas. Then we played a non-D1. Then we played Buffalo, who's really good. Again, we thought we could have won, but they're off to they started out 13-0. And then we played into St. Thomas, who's one of the best mid-majors in the country. And then we lost in overtime to Minnesota, and then we lost to Yale, who's top 75 team by 6. It was a 2-point game with 29 seconds to go. So, yeah, we started off, we played we're way above our weight class. And then once we've gotten kind of to our weight class, now we're really competitive. So, yeah, and I appreciate what you said about Boeheim. I think there's a couple things. I think I'm a target because I've been an opinionated person, and it's just, how it is. And we're in the era where it's just easy to take shots at somebody who has been in the spotlight for 20 years. And some of the stuff, I'll just be honest, I've brought upon myself. Some of it is the style of my delivery, but also the fact that I actually take it as a compliment that I've lived in people's heads all this time, for something I said that I don't care anything about right now. So yeah, last year we went through it. It was brutal. Brutal. The nation's leading scorer. He was awesome. He broke his ankle 10 games in, and we had 8 freshmen out of our 10 players playing the rest of the year. That's the way it worked. So, but to me, I don't think you can concern yourself with people you don't care about. It's just more about my boss, everything in our sphere, fixing our program. And really learning and taking the losses and going okay, what do we have to do to be better? How can we turn these close losses into wins? What players do we want to retain? Who do we want to go after? And we're not perfect. We're playing well right now, but it's not we're winning by 2 points. It's not like we're just demolishing teams. So. I don't know. You learn from those losses, and you learn mostly who your friends are and who your true allies are, because plenty of people hopped off and are now hopping back on. And, you just kind of move forward every day. It's really, it sounds super cliche, but it's true. But yeah, at our level, I have to be more engaged than Boeheim is, but I let my assistant coaches coach. I don't do everything, but the free time does allow me to, I go to a high school game about 3-4 times a week, not because we are recruiting a lot of Wisconsin high school players, but, the way it works now, I think the way to be successful is to recruit kids that you're not even going to get, and then they're going to transfer back. And the only way you do that is if you have a relationship and if people have good feelings about your program, that they're going to want to come back. And the state of Wisconsin has 4 Division I programs. We want to be the destination for all the mid-majors that want to transfer back in. We want to build a fence and keep the kids home. And so all this new time allows me to be way better as kind of a coach in the community, leader of our program. I'm super prepared, but I also have a chance to watch TV sometimes and, just go out to dinner with friends and all those other things I didn't have before.
All right, I got to get to it here. What do you think of Shedeur? Is he the quarterback of the future? What would you do if you were the Browns?
So, again, it's going to depend on who they hire, right? Because who they hire is going to be everything. But I think I wouldn't do it, but I think they're going to roll with him, and the reason is it's just a really weak quarterback class. It just is. Now, who do they hire to become the coach? Now, that's the other question, because if he's an offensive guy or the offensive coordinator is going to bring a quarterback with him, right? And so if it's one of those vet quarterbacks that needs a second chance, I don't think you can keep Shedeur if you draft somebody else. You just can't, because he's so polarizing and popular. You can't have that guy as your backup quarterback. in college football, your backup quarterback sometimes is your most popular player because everybody thinks like, well, just pull this guy, the next guy's better. In the NFL, the backup quarterback is simply there to get the starter ready. That's it. And, obviously that wasn't going to happen. That didn't work this year. I don't know. Like, it feels like they're going to keep him, but it just tell me who they hire. And but the big thing I've heard from NFL people is like, there's just not a good enough draft class. So it's not like you're going to use a first-round pick on a guy. If you're not going to use a first-round pick on a guy, and you have some equity in both those guys, let those two fight it out. Because if one of those two, and if Shedeur specifically can be the guy, the next 3 years you can build a monster in Cleveland because you're not spending anything on quarterback. And that's where it relates to my job, right? Like, we have a budget. Whatever your budget is, that's what your budget is. And, if you can get a discount on one of your best players, well, that allows you to put a better team. We say that to kids that we're trying to get to come back. Like, hey, dude, you might be worth more out on the market, but if you can do us a solid, take a little bit less money, then we can get you better teammates and have more success next year. I think that's obviously what Cleveland wants to do. All of these teams that have been built into these juggernauts, that's what they've done, right? San Francisco, they got Garoppolo, but I mean, really getting Purdy just allowed them to load up this roster with all-stars. I mean, that's what Philadelphia did until they got Jalen Hurts, right? So, I mean, that's the dream, but I think they're going to keep him. I think he's a slightly better version of who he was. I didn't think I don't know why Stefanski took him off the field for that 2-point conversion. That made no sense to me at all. Probably is that what got him fired, do you think, guys?
Which one? Because there was one where he hurt his pinky and people were freaking out in the stadium, but there were a couple of other ones.
It was the one to win the game. What week was it? God, it was the one to win the game.
I mean, that and Doug, they lost so many games over the last 2 years, so it's tough to survive that no matter who you are.
Yeah. Who are they going to hire?
Well, that's what I want to ask you next, because we've been talking about guys that I'm sure might not be at the front of your brain. I don't even know if you know who they are. Grant Udinski, is one of them. He's the offensive coordinator who does not call the plays under Liam Cohen in Jacksonville. There's Nathan Scheelhaus, another name, up-and-coming guy with the Rams, so he's going to be on that McVay tree. And I thought you'd be interesting to ask because of you getting the job that you got. You might have some interesting perspective on where coaches need to come from, because for years it was always, all right, you're the grad assistant and you work your way up, or you're an ops guy and you have to do the recruiting and live on the road with all the fast food. Now there are guys that can kind of jump ahead. We saw that with Brandon Staley, who's a kid from Northeast Ohio, who ends up becoming the head coach of the Chargers. It didn't go well, but you see guys elevated. What is it that you think makes you qualified to be a head coach at the highest level?
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, the first thing is, you guys brought up a great point about Boeheim. Like, I don't think people know what coaches actually do. They just don't. I think they think we do like everything, like literally everything. And the job does, at different levels does require everything. But, in terms of the NFL, this one I actually have a great working knowledge of. One of my closest friends is Tom Telesco. He was the Chargers GM for 11 years, Raiders for a year. And, his thing is he kind of lined out for me, like, how you actually do it. And that, I mean, he hired Staley, so I was very well informed in that process. And, if you really want to know how it goes, there's a book, a Feinstein book, was it Next Man Up? And that one talks about Belichick, not Belichick. It talks about, what's the coach? He was the coach of the Ravens. He was the offensive
Brian Billick?
Brian Billick. Talks about Billick and his prep for when he interviewed for the Ravens job, which he ultimately got, right? And that, when you're the coach, you have to have not just a working knowledge of the roster you're going to go coach, but of other rosters and who can become available. And it's like all the pieces have to fit together. Like, you have to have an offensive coordinator that fits with you. So if you hire a guy from the Rams, that's the system and then they're probably going to bring him Rams. All of the guys that you work with are going to come work with you. And it's not necessarily about what decisions you make. It's about the decisions you make in terms of who the staff's going to be, how you're going to play, what you're going to be involved in, what coaches you're going to let go and let coach, what things that you're going to do. So, right, like if you're Liam Cohen's, guy that doesn't call offensive plays, that's fine. Are you going to call the plays, or are you going to bring in somebody who already knows how to call plays? Because I think, look at the Lions and how they struggled this year, right? You got Dan Campbell calling plays. There was just no kind of rhythm and flow to it, right? And so to answer your question, how was I qualified? I don't know. I was in that I know how to coach basketball. I've coached basketball at the youth level and some, professional stuff for 15, 20 years. But I didn't know how to run a basketball program. And you have to hire people that know what you don't know. And so if you've never called plays before, you better hire somebody who knows how to call plays. And then you have to be aligned with them. If you have no real working knowledge of defense, well, you better hire somebody who not only can coach defense, but you can work with, and the style of defense that they want to run works with the personnel that you have. So those are all the things that you need. Like, I know we get caught up in names and what they've done or whatever, but Liam Cohen is the perfect example that, think about how that press conference was panned when he got the job because he couldn't say Duval correctly. But they're way better. Like, that guy clearly came in, has a plan, hired a good staff, and year one, they're way better. So, I think that whoever you hire has to understand where the Browns are in their growth or in their rebuild, and you got to be all aligned together, and they got to have a plan. Okay, if it's going to be Shedeur, it's got to be somebody who Shedeur can work with. If it's going to be a different quarterback, or if they're just going to proceed and punt for a year on the quarterback position, what's that going to look like? That's what I think they're going to do. Is I think this is going to be a transition year. It's going to be pretty hard, but they're going to load up with talent, use that draft, and just have a super young team, kind of like the Packers. See if see if Shedeur or Dylan Gabriel can be the guy, and if they can't, then they'll go draft a high draft pick next year.
Doug Gotlieb joining us here on the show. Doug, I want to tell you, we'll see you tonight at that game.
You coming?
Well, yeah, we're supposed to do Mechanical Bull. We're supposed to do a whole bunch of other stuff there. Like, you are going to see a whole lot of us. And
Wait, there's a Mechanical Bull at the game? I love this.
Well, I'm being told this. Now, the weather's a little bit crazy out there, so I don't know if they're going to be able to get the thing in the doors. But apparently there's going to be a Mechanical Bull of some sort, or all types of crazy stuff going on, because it is Country Western Night. You didn't know about Country Western Night out there?
I did not.
Well.
What are your ops guys doing? This is going to be part of tonight's game. We're going to be fired up.
We had half of our travel party got stuck in Chicago, so we had some other stuff going on.
Oh gosh.
So yeah.
Well,
the life in the mid majors is not always pretty, guys. It just isn't. So we flew in on the governor's plane. Seriously, literally, we used these state charters, but we only to get two of them. So we have like 10 in our travel party that has to fly commercial. Two of my assistant coaches, a couple of players, a couple of the ancillary staff, and they're stuck in Chicago. So I did not know.
You know what I hear, Doug? I hear excuses. I hear excuses. Seems like you're scared.
No. Hey, can I give you a sports take that I'm just dying to share with people that you guys can have amongst yourself?
Yeah, what the hell? Go ahead.
Lamar got Harbaugh. That was Lamar versus Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Right? And the gigantic FU to Lamar is that Harbaugh, I think he already announced that Monken's coming with him.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the whole thing was like, hey, dude, we created this whole offense. I hired an offensive coordinator who can advance passing game guy. I know Monken well. He was at Oklahoma State. To help take us to the next level. And it got worse, didn't get better, right? And we spent all this money on you. And because we did, the defense wasn't nearly as good. And, so and then even when they asked Lamar about, do you think he should be the head coach next year? He was like, I just got done with the game. I can't, what?
They didn't vouch for him.
He didn't vouch for him.
No.
So you think this is personal? This is a personal vendetta?
Yes.
Okay.
Clearly, that's what it is. Right? Am I wrong? You guys read the same thing.
Bringing Monken in, I got to see what their schedule is. They do not have the Ravens on their 2026 schedule. Should.
I don't think it's about. I just think it's about clearly Harbaugh is like the problem wasn't that guy, and the problem was Lamar, it's just crazy because obviously this is where Harbaugh is great, and just like his brother, like he never said a negative word ever about Lamar, no matter how up and down. And Lamar's super talented, obviously, but I often think it's interesting on what we cover and what we don't cover when we're doing national media. And that one has kind of gone by the wayside, that nobody's pointing out that like this was a bitter divorce between the two. And Lamar should not come out looking great. And somehow he has. So I don't, he's always hurt. He doesn't run as much as he used to. He's never been good in the playoffs. And yet like he just somehow is a bit Teflon on things. So I just think that's interesting.
Doug, thank you very much for the time. I'll talk to you about that before the game coming up later on tonight.
Okay, I'm not hopping on a riding bull, but It is weird. Like country and Western sounds like a 1980s way, because now it's everything's country. Western has gone by the wayside.
Unfortunately.
You guys notice that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. All right, Doug.
All right, well, Boots Good Boogie. We'll see you tonight.
Thank you very much. Doug Gotlieb on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline. As he is the coach of the Green Bay Phoenix. They'll be facing our CSU Vikings tonight. I plan on at least getting somebody teed up and getting thrown out of the game.
It better happen. I mean, we have our listeners coming for a reason.
You guys come to the game. I'm just going to let you know somebody's going to have to do things with Lima in the second half. I'm getting thrown out. Mary Kay Cabot, she's going to join us at 8:20 this morning. Offensive wizard. She used that term twice to describe Nate Shieldhouse about last night, coming up at 5 on the Fan.
92.3.
better on defense.
It won't matter till April. I think we know that. Y'all gonna write it off. We could go 82-0. No one would care.
He's a piece of crap. The kid, he sucks. He's sucked his whole career.
I got rumors about him. How he couldn't please his wife, so now he's divorced.
Put a damn winning team on the field.
Now the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima give their thoughts on what you might have missed about last night.
Cavs get a good win last night. They get a good, nice, dominant win. But does it feel a little bit like fool's gold the way the win over the Timberwolves went? Because right after they won over the Timberwolves, a few days later, they get embarrassed by the Jazz.
No, I'm worried about the injury for Darius Garland. That's what I'm worried about, because that would be something legitimately that bothers them for the rest of the season, and I can't get any clarity on it. Did you get any more clarity on this? I know that maybe you had talked to Jeff about it, about Darius Garland's injury over there.
Just that it was not the same foot,
but
that he has had his issues with.
But Kenny Atkinson had said it was the same toe, which maybe Kenny Atkinson had heard it differently, apparently, or something like that. Hopefully we'll get more clarity today. I wouldn't expect him to play tomorrow night in Philly, Darius Garland. So, I mean, maybe the next game's a wash.
I think Sam Merrill's also questionable for tomorrow night as well.
Well, yeah.
Right?
So I mean, yesterday,
and he's been huge for the Cavs offense when he's on the floor.
Yeah, tomorrow I kind of take as a wash because of all that. You can't have guys getting banged up like this, and it feels like it's always one step forward, two steps back. One is because of I thought the effort, and Kenny Atkinson obviously thought the effort was not serious against the Utah Jazz. That was terrible. But here now, because of injury, like, it's either fate or their own heads getting in the middle of it. So, yeah, last night was awesome until Darius goes down. Now I got to worry about a guy who's often injured being injured even more, Tone.
I thought, though, it was still awesome because now you have a string of victories against legitimate teams, and Philly was starting to get talked about as a legitimate team in the East because Joel Embiid's been the healthiest he's been, and it seems like in a few years. So they've beaten Minnesota. They did go toe-to-toe with the Knicks and the Pistons. They did lose both of those games, but then
they were up by 17 against the Knicks, and then they lost that game. I wouldn't call it toe-to-toe. I'd call it a collapse.
I mean, but I mean, they didn't get. It wasn't like the Knicks won wire-to-wire, which is what the Cavs did last night to Philly, which was really impressive. Tyrese Maxey's been one of the best players in the league this year, and they really held him down. He struggled, and so they've been able to put together these wins. They beat Phoenix, and Phoenix has been a better team this year than people thought they would be. So at least you've shown that. But yes, it's like a step forward, a step back, because the prevailing wisdom kind of has been that, man, it could be like this all year with Darius. He could be hard to count on all year.
Well, I mean, and injuries have been kind of the prevailing storyline with the Cavaliers this year, right? Because Darius Garland has been in and out with that injury. Sam Merrill's been in and out with an injury. We thought we were going to get Max Strus back earlier, and it looks like he's going to be out even longer. That seems to be the common theme with all of the Cavs struggles is, well, they don't have their core four together, or they don't have their full lineup. They don't have their bench. They don't have this. They don't have that, and it's all because of these injuries.
Basically, yes.
All right, so let's move on. At what point did you think that John Harbaugh, I don't know why I keep saying Jim.
It's okay.
John Harbaugh.
They both are J's and they're both Harbaughs.
And they're
both jerks.
I don't think John Harbaugh's a jerk.
So at what point did you
gesture.
think? Yes. At what point did you think he had his mind made up about the Giants?
Boy, for him to take this just like that.
I mean, it seems like it's happened very quickly. So he gets fired last week, and then we hear the story that he's going to wait until this week, narrow down the teams, weigh his options. He comes in we know for a fact that he interviewed with the Falcons. I don't know if there's any other team that formally interviewed him. But then all of a sudden it went from, I'm narrowing down my options, this is who I'm thinking. Oh, no, wait, just kidding. Overnight, I signed with the Giants. Or reportedly, that's the plan because it's not official yet.
I thought, because Jackson Dart's not some slam dunk prospect. Justin Herbert is under fire again because he played kind of lousy in that playoff game, but it made sense. His brother was going to look for an opportunity where he could go into a ready-made quarterback situation. Jackson Dart played the best of the rookies this year, but is it a guarantee. I don't think for any of these rookie quarterbacks it's a guarantee. And I thought he would at least enjoy the process of getting wined and dined. He's been in the same organization for 18 years. Go see what's going on in other organizations too. Go talk to other ownerships to figure out who he could work with. And he didn't really do that.
The timeline seems to have moved very, very quickly.
I think we'll find out probably later today what's sweet. I don't know. Schefter's tweeting at him like crazy. I think we'll find out later today what they probably did to sweeten the pot to make sure that he got here. Connor Hughes over there at SNY was saying how crazy the Giants were about getting him once they found out that he was there. Probably it has something to do with Jackson Dart, and probably like Jackson Dart more. And frankly, I know that they've changed a lot of head coaches here over the last. I think they've had as many head coaches as we have now since a certain time, but that ownership group is still feel more stable than what you're going to have, what you would have had in Tennessee. They're changing out a bunch of people all over the place. It seems to either be a head coach or a general manager, and they go back and forth on that. I'm not the biggest fan of Joe Shane, but I think he can work with him. And obviously, I think that probably maybe one of the big sticking points is that they were willing to just bring along Todd Monken with them. And maybe that was the one that finally put it over. Plus, I don't know what his family issues are. Maybe it's New York City. His brother lives in Los Angeles. Brother talks about maybe a big city. Maybe he just figures, you know what? This is a big place to be, big job to have. Go with a stoic ownership and go with a big city, big market.
Do you think if the Bills had lost and fired Sean McDermott that he would have been more likely to go to the Bills than the Giants?
I don't know about that. Josh Allen's Josh Allen.
Yeah,
so.
I thought if the Bills lost that game last week, that job would be open, and I think you'd be crazy to take the Giants job over Buffalo.
Yeah, I should say Josh Allen's Josh Allen. It's not that I don't know about that. I think that you would be crazy to pass up a Josh Allen possibility there. And maybe Todd Monken would work well with Josh Allen, it seems, but that's it.
That's all we got.
For About Last Night. Fantastic. Coming up at 8:20, Mary Kay going to join us on the show. Offensive wizard is the quote for Nate Shieldhouse. I want to ask her why she has written that twice. And Grant Udinsky, a possibility, a 30-year-old. Speaking of him, if it's that bad a job, and we'll hear a snippet from Nick Wright yesterday about that. If it's that bad a job and you can't get the savior, why not let the kid take a whack at it? Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on the Fan.
XTENDAV.com, Extend Technologies.
Browns really screwed the pooch, that's not revisionist history. Revisionist history is you say fire Kevin Stefanski, he goes to Baltimore, has success, and you go, I never wanted to fire Kevin Stefanski.
You're right. I'm not scared of where Stefanski goes in the slightest bit. I'm not scared of him going to Baltimore, while also understanding I think Stefanski's only as good as the talent around him.
The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Mary Kay, 20 minutes away. You gotta hear it. Grant Yadinsky. And if you pick him up, Grant Yawinski.
Hey! And if it doesn't work out, Yadunsky.
Grant Yawinski. What a name, huh? We'll see.
They can't throw crap in that one, right? Like they did with Stefanski.
What do you mean?
Krapinski. Just did it.
Stekrapski.
Yeah, Krapski.
I would get emails that it would just say that in the heading. And I'm going, I'm not reading this. All right, I got what you're thinking.
Krapansky. Wait,
yeah,
that's what we call
Krapansky was
Stefanski.
there. Yeah. Which somebody wrote, you don't win ski with Yadinsky. I'm like, come on, guys. He's 30 years old. You don't know that. You don't know that.
Do you even know what he sounds like?
Do we have audio of what he sounds like? Let's hear the possible future head coach of the Cleveland Browns, Grant Yadinsky.
The first one that shows up is kind of his feel in space. Or you see some of these teams playing zone coverage where they have defenders who have vision on the quarterback and they have different spots to get to and different landmarks, or they're reading off of what our routes are to kind of, determine what their drop's going to be. He has a feel for where those defenders are going, where they're trying to get to, and then where his route fits off of that. And that kind of takes a second and third level order of processing, not just to know, we tell you to get to this spot, but this spot is going to open up. Because we're telling you to get to a spot that looks covered. But if you have a great understanding of what the defense is doing or what the defense is trying to do, then you can run your route in a certain way to try to get to that spot on the field or to try to dictate the coverage to play a certain way. All right, now I run a route this way and I lean out a bit, gets that defender to move out, and now I opened up my window inside.
Nitty-gritty
football.
It's time for nitty-gritty football.
Jamison Crowder wheel route down the right sideline. Jordan Reed touchdown and a 4x1 individual ISO slant.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Little things like that are really subtle show up with him when he's running routes. Then you see it in the run game too with my understanding of angles on the block. You see a lot of plays that he's making, getting down blocking safeties, blocking corners. I mean, he's blocking linebackers on some plays.
Oh, so gritty.
And you really can only do that when there's a physical mismatch at time. If you have great technique, great angles, you have a great understanding of where the run is going to go, where the blocks inside are going, because how those blocks distribute will change how the safety or the linebacker is going to trigger on the run.
Give me more grit.
Right, because they're keen. He knows, okay, the safety is keen, the tight end, or the safety is keen, the tackle. The tackle does this. This is the safety's response going to be. And because he's responding like that, I have to take this angle. That's a really high level, series of thought to be able to go out there and play fast and execute that type of block for just a simple run play.
That's a little too gritty.
But to be able to process all that so fast does require really a special feel for understanding the game of football and just a feel for space out there.
Don't even interview him. Just give him the job.
That's a job.
Just give him the job, guys. What are we doing?
Is this Vince Lombardi's great-great-grandson?
Oh, that sounds like Bill Walsh.
My God. Let's go.
Just give him the job.
It's a no-brainer.
What are we going to do? We going to get Mike McDaniel in here, Mr. Cool, and just take phone calls about his pants when they lose 30-6? That's all we'll do. Sunglasses and pants calls every single Sunday. I might as well take this kid. 30 years old. Is he married? Ain't got no wife, ain't got no kids. He's married to the game. Oh, exactly, baby.
I saw that yesterday because that was the whole thing about McVay, right?
Hell yeah.
That this was going to be his labor of love 24/7. It's funny, we just got done talking to Doug Gotlieb, who is in town tonight for Cleveland State and Milwaukee, going to battle it out the Wilstein Center. And he said, hey, people don't really know what coaches do, or more importantly, what they don't do, what they delegate. Well, does that sound like a delegator? That sounds like a guy's going to take over the whole city.
Sounds like a guy who knows what the hell he's doing, man.
He's going to get that dome greenlit
Sounds
even
like a
faster.
guy who knows football. That's a football guy. It's a football kid, and we're going to hire him, and he's going to be a football man.
He comes come in and say, put these trusses and these mounts together, get these bolts. And
Owen,
have a dome by 2027.
He's going to come here and Burke Lakefront the next day. They will implode that thing.
See ya.
Well, I hope they don't implode it. You still need the land there, don't you? Because we're going to build all that infrastructure, huh?
What about the air show?
5
Mr.
Ferris
Mayor?
wheels. We'll have 5 Ferris wheels.
5 Ferris wheels. It's the 5 Ferris wheel city. The forced 5 Ferris wheel city. Huh, Mayor? Come on, Mayor, huh?
Anybody can do one.
Imagine how much you could charge for parking there, huh, Mayor?
Can you do 5?
We had 2 Cokes, and we struck a deal.
That's how we're going to get Yadinsky.
That's how it works.
That's how we're getting Yadinsky.
And we're just getting started.
Obviously, I'm being crazy, but there's something about it. I don't know, man. It's just like, you know what? There comes a time in every Browns fan's life where you go, what the hell? You say, what the hell? You know? And maybe that's the audio they play at his induction ceremony, is a guy on the radio going, what the hell? Hey. Now, I got concerns about his support system, and Doug Gotlieb, we had him on, and Doug Gotlieb was like, and by the way, did I say this or did I not say this before Doug came on and said it about the play calling thing? It's like, well, you're going to hire him, but you're going to hire a play caller. Maybe Tommy Rees is going to call plays for the third. Ooh, Tommy Rees. Well, we talk about Jim Schwartz at 59 years old working with a young man. Will Tommy Rees at 34 be able to work for a 30-year-old? Or do we just hire some other play caller? You want Arthur Smith to come over here and call play? Okay. No, I know you don't. I mean, think about it. All right, turn on your mic. How many wins do you think they're going to get in 2026? Go. Right now, tippy top of your head. Go.
I said 5 a week ago.
Owen?
Yeah, with the current roster, 5.
Who are you going to give more time to? 30-year-old Grant Yadinsky or Cool Shades McDaniel? Which one are you going to give him? Who's going to get more time?
I mean, it depends. Is one of them finally going to actually come on the show every week, like in most big cities?
We might be able to get Yadinsky.
My God, nobody in this Browns team would ever do the...
Okay, put the safety back on for crying out
Tom
loud.
Brady went on weekly in New England
with Jim Gray,
and no Browns would ever want to come on.
Well, we got to get Barbasol lined up, and then
Big Ben in Pittsburgh would come on weekly. Can't get one in Cleveland. Like, come on.
He needed Pony to hold his hand. All right, go back to this. Hold on for a second before you end up in a meeting today. Go back to this. Now here we are. You got a 30-year-old young man out there, and I worry about his support system. Clearly, I worry about his support system because you got a tenuous situation with the general manager. I think if they hired him, I think the owner, and guys, he did it for Kevin. I think the owner would go, hey, he needs time. Give him time. But at the same time, are you letting a 30-year-old then turn around and help you hire your general manager if you move on from the general manager? I think what a guy like Yadinsky does is he buys more time. Now, there's so many other tenables to it where you're thinking, that's definitely not the word I'm using, but I'm thinking off the top of my head, guys. If you hire Grant Yadinsky, then I think we will get to a point about Myles Garrett's contract and all that other stuff. But if you're only going to win 5 or 6 games, you will have more time because you're going to go, hey, he's 30 years old. Let's let him grow into the position. If you're going to win 5 or 6 games with Mike McDaniel, you're going to go, what are we doing here? And I still think that Mike McDaniel's the leader in the clubhouse. I'm still predicting him. And they haven't met with Yadinsky yet. But if I got all these NFL people, I mean real NFL people, not just, when you say the insiders get moved by agents, so I don't want to hear about that. When you got legitimate guys who are in the business, and they're going, hey, man, it's just a matter of time in the next couple of years he's going to be a head coach. You can't help but think, well, why don't we just make him a head coach? We have time. We're not going to go anywhere. Let's just make him the head coach. Maybe it's a different idea on offense, and then you have Jim Schwartz running the defense, and maybe you're able to get that play caller, and you're able to do it differently. And guys, there are plenty of pitfalls to 30-year-old head coaches that there are almost too many to name of the pitfalls. But if we want to do it this way, go right on ahead and do it. Think about it. 30 years old, just a baby, just a pup. if he's going to be a legend, quote unquote, well, why don't you make him a legend?
Well, you hire a guy like that, the big deal, huge deal, and a big part of it is getting off to a good start, right? I mean, isn't that everything? What you absolutely cannot do is have an inexperienced guy, never called plays before, never been in that kind of position of leadership, and then you have a 3-14 season or a 4-13, because nobody will have patience for anything like that.
No, they won't. 216-474-0092. Mary Kay Cabot. Now, be careful out there. The roads are terrible. Mary Kay Cabot, she's going to be joining us from the safety of her home. I hope so. I hope she's not out on the roads right now. Mary Kay Cabot, she's going to join us next. Nate Scheelhaus, she wrote Offensive Wizard, and I want to know more about Grant Yudinsky. I want to know more about the pup. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on The Fan.
Anthony Lima for QC.
Ravens offensive coordinator recently interviewed for the head coaching job here in Cleveland. Get all the latest Browns content filtered right to your phone during the offseason by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Been waiting all week to talk to Mary Kay, and she joins us right now on the Make It Right Call Kyle Wright hotline. Mary Kay, hope you don't have to go anywhere today. The weather's terrible. Roads are bad.
It is terrible.
Yeah.
My goodness. Yeah. It's really nasty out here.
You know what else is nasty? This coaching search, Mary Kay. We're at each other's throats at this station right now. And I'm going to get to Grant Udinski and some other ones here in just a second, and John Harbaugh and all that stuff. But you wrote Nate Scheelhaase is an offensive wizard. You wrote that twice. Now, my thoughts is that this town's only big enough for one wizard. That's the slippery wizard to my right. Why is Nate Scheelhaase a, quote, offensive wizard?
He is just one of those bright, brilliant offensive minds. He's someone that can help Sean McVay draw up plays. And if you can do that, then you know you're onto something. He's just a rising star in the business, but he's not the only one. Grant Udinski is described in the same way. So these are some of the kinds of guys that Andrew is interviewing, the really bright young minds in the game.
Well, Mary Kay, I find it interesting that we played a very lengthy clip from one of the candidates, Udinski, breaking down football like no other, and fans are kind of sit here left to ponder. Well, is it a collision course with one of the hot, young, up and coming coordinators, despite how inexperienced they might be? What should be the balance there when they are kind of examining these candidates and their relative lack of experience on whether they can actually lead a program, lead an entire organization?
Well, I think if you're going with one of those young guys, you really have to try to go on some of your gut feelings and instincts about the leadership abilities of that person, because you're really not going to know. Because Nate and Grant, those guys are pretty young, and they really haven't had an opportunity to show that they can command a whole room and lead an offensive meeting or whatever the case may be. So they're brilliant, they're bright. We know that about them, but it would be taking a leap of faith on guys like that to determine if they can do the whole leadership piece, face of the franchise, meet with the media 5 times a week, and those kinds of things.
Mary Kay Cabot joining us here on the Make It Right Call Kyle Wright hotline. What about the support system for either one of these guys? Because okay, Nate Scheelhaase is 35, if I'm not mistaken. So you would have to have people working with them, alongside them, and making sure that things are good. Because I do think, and maybe you disagree, I think next season is probably going to be another tough one as they try to build this thing back up. Do they believe that Jim Schwartz will work with these guys and not try to take it over?
Well, I think the thing to look at here is maybe Jim Schwartz will end up being the head coach. I still think that he has as good a chance of anybody else, maybe better. So I still think that he's very much in the mix, even though they are interviewing all these young, again, rising stars in the game. Don't count him out. He's still very much part of it. And I think part of the decision-making will be, how do you want to put the puzzle pieces together? If he's the head coach, can you maybe bring in one of these guys as your offensive coordinator? Because Grant and Nate aren't that yet in the jobs that they're in. So, these are some ways that you could possibly go about it. And then if you do decide to go with one of the young guys, or one of the less, not inexperienced guys, then you have to decide, are you going to be able to keep Jim? And if so, how would that work out, especially if you're looking at Jesse Minter or one of the defensive guys?
Mary Kay Cabot joining us. What is the balance between taking your time, being thorough, comprehensive, exhaustive, international search, and also making sure that you're not the last team without a coach, with everybody else hiring out the guys that you want?
Well, I think you just have to be patient and not live in your fears and aim for the guy or the guys that you really want. Be willing to wait for them if you have to. I think sometimes teams panic a little bit and worry that they're going to be the one left without a seat at musical chairs. And I don't think you can worry about that. There are enough good candidates out there. You have to have a number of them that you're willing to be really, really super happy with and just go about your search the way that it should be done. And another thing that I would not do is you don't panic. If your guy is headed to the Super Bowl, let him go to the Super Bowl and get him after that. I remember talking to Dan Quinn at the Super Bowl after the Super Bowl one year. He really wanted the Browns job, and they didn't want to wait for him. And I think he would have been an excellent coach for the Cleveland Browns at that time. And they just did not want to wait for him to be in the Super Bowl and actually, have to interview him after that. So I don't
Which
think
search was that? Was that the Hughes search? Which one was it? I'm trying to remember myself, Mary Kay. I'm sorry. I wasn't testing you there. I apologize.
No, it may have been. No, it may have been. I'm getting all my searches are running together anymore. But that was a job that he really wanted. It might have been the Pettin. That might have been Pettin.
Wait a minute. We went to our seventh option when we could have waited till the Super Bowl and just got Dan Quinn.
Yes, they could have waited until the Super Bowl that year and gotten Dan Quinn. 100%. He told me that one-on-one to my face after the Super Bowl that he was excited to take the job and would have 100% taken it that year.
I like Mike, but Judas Priest. All right, I didn't know that. Now my day got worse. Go ahead there, Tone.
Mary Kay Cabot joining us right now on the hotline. Do you think, because we started out the show talking about Harbaugh overnight getting the job, and I asked if Jackson Dart was a Cleveland Brown and not a Giant, is Harbaugh a Cleveland Brown today as opposed to a Giant? How much does the quarterback factor into these decisions?
The quarterback factors in absolutely in a huge, huge way. And I'm sure that Jackson Dart was an attractive piece to the Giants job. There were others. Of course, it's a huge market. He'll make a ton of money there. I'm sure that whatever else he wanted, they're willing to do whatever it takes. And but I'm sure Jackson Dart was a big piece of it. And you guys saw that Brian Daboll even called John Harbaugh to extol the virtues of Jackson Dart. And I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. The Browns have an uncertain quarterback situation here. And unless you feel really good about Shedeur Sanders right now, you might have second thoughts about taking this job. I mean, even the Browns haven't committed to Shedeur Sanders yet. So you would be taking this job on a little bit of a quarterback leap of faith, whereas you know what's going on in some of the other jobs.
Speaking of them quarterbacks, Dante Moore's going back to college. One, were you surprised? Two, do you know if the Browns really, really liked him or not?
I believe they really did like him a lot, but I think, again, it was another situation where you would have had to weigh his 20 starts against putting the fortunes of the franchise in his hands. That's not a whole lot of starts, and generally guys that don't have many starts struggle early on in the NFL, and some of them don't even end up making it. So I think I was not surprised that he went back after I watched that semifinal game. I thought he would go back, but I think it does impact the Browns quarterback situation in that I think it increases the likelihood that they will move forward with Shedeur. Now, I don't know that for sure because it's going to depend on the head coach and what he thinks about Shedeur. But I think this certainly doesn't hurt his chances.
Well, I saw yesterday, and it seems like every day there's a new chart. And as people familiar with the show know, I am a chart maven.
It's the worst thing about the new year. It's the worst thing about the new year.
It's a new me, Mary Kay.
It distracts him.
I love
it's
an X
awful.
axis,
it sucks.
a Y axis. I love to plot out data.
I hate you when you do them. I really, really, really hate you when you do them.
I think it's improved the show. And I think
it's made it far worse.
Either way, Mary Kay, well, it depends if I'm doing the graphic while you're talking. Either way, Mary Kay, I'm not doing a graphic presently, but another one came out about uncatchable and turnover-worthy plays, and Shedeur was way at the wrong end of it. And it seems like every day there's a new one of these that show how bad of a season he had. Yet we talk about it, we're like, man, I didn't think he was that bad. How much of that will factor into this conversation, too, that there really are no good analytics to show that he was a worthy quarterback last season?
Well, you're right about that. The numbers do not support it, but the fact that he had very little supporting cast I think most coaches who are obviously going to know exactly what they're looking at will see that he did not have a ton to work with. And if you're throwing passes to someone that's getting picked off all the time, or whatever the case may be, if you don't have the protection that you need, then it's going to be hard to function out there. And we saw what happened when Joe Flacco left here and went down to Cincinnati. Suddenly, he wasn't the worst quarterback in the world anymore. He was throwing for, once again, 300 yards a game and a bunch of touchdowns. And when you have people to throw the ball to and you're getting protection, then you look a whole lot better, and your analytics are better, and your rating is better, your numbers are better, your interceptions aren't as high. And I think that's the thinking and the feeling on the part of the Browns, that maybe they have something here, just maybe they do, and maybe that will come out with maybe a different scheme and a better supporting cast.
Is there a dark horse that we haven't even mentioned, and you don't have to, if you have been told in confidence and you are still kind of vetting things out, is there a chance there's someone that none of us have mentioned that could be the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns?
Well, sure, that's always a possibility. Until it's signed, sealed, and delivered, anything can still happen. And that's why I never really ruled out John Harbaugh, because until he had the job that he's now getting with the Giants, nobody else can be ruled out yet, not even the Cleveland Browns. So I don't think there is a dark horse at this point, although I was told yesterday that they will still request an interview with Chris Shula. Not 100% certain that's going to happen or not, but that was what I was told yesterday, that is expected to happen. He's very much in demand, so I'm sure that once they talk to him, they will end up really liking him. They're probably going to really like Jesse Minter. These guys are going to interview really well. So I think that, that could change the game a little bit as we move forward here. But as I wrote in the story that I just wrote this morning, I think starting next week, they will begin doing a few second interviews, and then we'll have a better idea of where this thing might be going.
Where's Kevin going to end up?
Good question. That's a really, really good question. At this point, I don't really know. I know he really likes Cam Ward a lot, so if he and the Titans had a good interview, that's a possibility for him. And then he probably would enjoy coaching the number 1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza, so maybe that's in play. Not really sure where that's going yet. Maybe Atlanta. He interviewed in Atlanta, the Dolphins. I think he'll get a head job. If he does not get one or does not really want one this year, then maybe he can go join Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia and be OC and kind of just do that for a year and then wait for his right opportunity.
I've questioned the leadership of this team in the locker room. I've questioned them being pushed. I like Jim Schwartz. If Jim Schwartz is going to stay as the defensive coordinator, I was like, well, I kind of like this Yadinsky guy. It's just the more I hear of him, the more I like him. Can't help myself. But I predicted yesterday, and Lima agreed, Mary Kay, that Mike McDaniel would be the next head coach. What's the latest you've heard about him? I know he's visiting other places for OC jobs and things like that. How much do they like him?
Well, they like him a lot. They've long liked Mike McDaniel, and they've long admired his brilliant mind. And that's kind of what they're going for here, is one of those offensive wizard type of guys that we're talking about. And he certainly fits the bill. So not sure, as I mentioned before, they will probably be doing second interviews next week. We'll find out more. The fact that he's taking OC interviews, I find that to be kind of interesting, but he is certainly somebody that they like a lot.
How come? Why do you find that interesting?
Well, because if you want to go for a head coach job, I don't know that you would be then kind of conceding that you're not going to get one and that maybe you should be looking at OC jobs. So I guess if I were him, I would still be hoping for one of the 9 openings or 8 openings now.
Are we the only one he's interviewed to be a head coach with?
No, I think somebody else has interviewed him as head coach, but right now I can't remember exactly who it is. But I think somebody else has interviewed him for head coach.
Are you hearing that Mary Kay with us on the show on the Make It Right Call Kyle Wright hotline? Are you hearing Mike Tomlin's going to go coach, or you think he's going to take some time off and do TV? Do you think he's ever going to coach again?
I think he probably will coach again. But I have heard that he is going to take this year off and do TV. I was kidding around with someone yesterday. The Browns should take one of those first-round picks and trade it to the Steelers for Mike Tomlin. But he has no intentions of coaching this year, from what I've heard. And but I think sometimes when you have someone like that who is made and born for coaching, they'll take a year away, regroup a little bit, and then come back at it. And I see him doing that.
Is there a coach you would actually give up a first-round pick for? I know you said you were joking.
Yeah, I would give up a first-round pick for Mike Tomlin. Yeah, I would do that.
To the Steelers?
Yeah, I would do that. I mean, I doubt that would happen. I doubt that they would trade him to the Browns, but sure, I would give up a first-round pick.
I'm sure he'd have to actually agree to coach the Browns. I think that'd have to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. All right, Mary Kay, we thank you very much for the time. If you have to go out and about, please be careful, Mary Kay.
You too.
Mary Kay Cabot on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline.
Does it matter to you? And I know it's probably a moot point because Mary Kay, she was not nearly as open about Harbaugh as Tomlin was Harbaugh when it came to whether they're actually going to coach again this year. And now we know Harbaugh will coach, and people keep saying Tomlin left for family, maybe wants to do TV, cushy TV job where you kind of parachute in. But the pundits are really starting, now they can take Dante Moore out of the equation. They're really starting to break down this draft, and they're making it seem like this is the worst first round, or at least top half of the first round in a long time.
Yeah. Not good. Everybody's all trade down. It's like, well, who's trading up?
Who would trade up?
Needs to. I can't go down to James Gladstone wanted to trade up last year. You can't go make him do it again.
And I saw people saying this does us
gonna be tough.
This does us a favor because Moore was not ready to start. Would have been a disaster if they tried to force him up. Okay, all that might be true. I wouldn't put any of that out of the equation. But it also pushes the talent up and where teams can get them, and kind of puts us, like, we know that now if we wouldn't have taken Moore, that would have pushed a more talented player to us. But now that you take Moore out of the equation, and we don't think Simpson will be up there by any of the teams,
I hope not.
It means that the likelihood of a team ahead of us taking the guy we really want goes up.
Do you agree with her about Mike Tomlin?
How so?
Would you give up a first-round pick?
We'll talk about it.
Okay, that and we've been fighting over this guy so much, this nice young man so much, maybe we were being too loud about it and scaring some people away. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, here on The Fan.
Real estate.
92.3 The Fan has the most local sports talk in town, and you can be a part of it anytime you want. Weigh in on X at 92.3 The Fan and see if our hosts make your reaction a part of our shows. Powered by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Keep us locked in all day, every day for the latest on the Browns' search for a new head coach. This is the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. Time out! Time out! 92.3 The Fan.
So I wanted to get to this Nick Wright audio, and I might have to do it at 9. Well, let's just see here. Do you really believe that, or are you just trying to be difficult and you're bored and you want to start an argument? I see you tweeting back at people. What are you tweeting over there?
You're talking about...
What are you tweeting over there?
Oh, the chart. That chart.
Oh, my God.
With
the chart's got to
Sanders.
stop. The chart stuff
It wasn't my chart.
End. We have to get Keith to get in here and say no more charts during the show.
It wasn't my chart, though. That was the thing.
It is like porn to you. You are addicted to charts that say Shedeur Sanders is a bad quarterback. I don't know what to tell you other. You're going to keep seeing it. How much of it do you need to see? Like, listen, I like Sarah J. too, but at some point I need a break. You need to have a break of Shedeur Sanders at some point where you have had enough.
I could throw Sarah J. and others into a chart. I've got data.
Somehow Sarah J. has a higher EPA than Shedeur Sanders. Somehow, some way.
But you're asking about Tomlin.
Because I want to know, in sincerity, are you just trying to be difficult? Because you know what I'm going to do if you say that you would have given up a Browns first-round pick for Mike Tomlin.
Here is my overriding thought process when it comes to coaches and how I think they're good or not. Okay? Everybody has their own formulas.
This is going to be great.
Everybody has their own way of gauging whether a coach is good or not.
You ready?
So why do I say Kyle Shanahan is as good as anybody?
Is this coaching in general or just football?
Head coach in the NFL.
I mean, okay.
So Kyle Shanahan has no Super Bowls, and I've seen people say, well, he chokes in big games. I'm like, man, he has been to 2 Super Bowls against way better quarterbacks in those Super Bowls, and he had them right there at the doorstep with a chance to win. Mm-hmm. That's unbelievable coaching.
3 Super Bowls.
3? Yeah, well, if you're kind
twice with San Francisco.
And one is the OC.
The OC of Atlanta.
And he had Matt Ryan as the league MVP. Best year that Matt Ryan had was with Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan with the Cleveland Browns as the OC. Who were his quarterbacks again? Brian Hoyer. He was doing some pretty good things.
Okay, yeah.
So I think Kyle Shanahan, unimpeachable, great coach. Okay? And he has no Super Bowls, but I can say that. I look at Mike Tomlin, and I look at the quarterbacks, and more people have done this, by the way. I've seen more people point out and go year by year who his quarterbacks were. This is a guy who is able to consistently churn out a winning football team without great quarterback play. That's hard to do in this league. This league is about quarterbacks. We say quarterbacks are the foundation of everything. It's all we talk about in Cleveland. Now, that's all they talk about in Pittsburgh, too, and they dock Tomlin because they think he's gotten in the way of getting quarterbacks. But what do we know about Pittsburgh? They're never bad enough to just draft one at the top. They're never bad enough because he's too good of a coach. So there has to be some luck involved. I can't tell you the formula, but I can tell you if tomorrow they got Mike Tomlin, that would be more valuable to the Cleveland Browns in becoming a winning team and a winning organization than a first-round pick, especially in a draft without a quarterback. There's no, they can't get a quarterback now in this draft. I mean, unless Ty Simpson ends up being really good. That's my take on why I think Mike Tomlin is more valuable than a pick and why I would trade one for him. And this draft is getting worse by the day. The way people are now honing in on it, really thinking about it. They look at every position group. You can't name a prospect or a position group where a prospect is better in this draft than in the last 2. You can't. It just doesn't exist except one, safety, Caleb Downs. Do you want the Browns to draft Caleb Downs at number 6 overall? It's not really helping your offense.
Well, you're not saying to give up number 6 overall for Mike Tomlin.
No. I would have obviously floated the second first rounder, which is basically a second rounder in every draft ever.
Well, you're more convincing than I like to give you credit for, because I had to sit there and I had to think about it. There are certain coaches that I would kick it around. Now, I fought with you tooth and nail about Sean Payton. Sean Payton's ended up doing obviously a fine job with Denver.
And I like Payton. I like Payton more than Tomlin.
No, you need players. Sure. And And you can go out and hire because they're only going to be as good as their players. We do this all the time. Good coaches get fired all the time because their players suck. And I've been debating this. This is what I hate about coaching searches. I've been debating this for now the last 48 hours about Grant Udinski and all. Well, he doesn't call play, he doesn't do this. Hey, man, so go look in any playbook you can find. Go get Bill Walsh's ghost and find me a playbook that's going to turn Dylan Gabriel into a better quarterback. Please, I beg you. I beg you,
Could
sincerely.
Shanahan do it?
Sincerely.
Could Shanahan?
I think Shanahan could make him as passable as possible, and we'd be still going, oh my gosh, this is, he don't want to go down the field. He don't want to go down the field. That's all there is to it. Like, you watch Brock Purdy, and so did I, when he was at Iowa State, for obvious reasons. Him falling to the 7th round, him falling to Mr. Irrelevant, you and I were surprised. But we were looked at as like, well, you guys spend too much time around the program. You guys are a little too close to it. No. You and I were surprised. Now, I didn't think he was like a first-round pick. No. But I thought he was better than that. I did not think Dylan Gabriel was as good as a third-round pick.
I didn't either.
But we're talking about first-round picks. We've been talking about all this time that we need talent on this football team. We still don't have enough talent on this team. You still need players. I can go find other good coaches. There's more than just Kyle Shanahan out there, who still has 0 Super Bowls, but he's been in 2, so obviously I'm not going to take anything away from him. And I think that he proved again over this last weekend with what they were able to do, why he has a lifetime contract with the San Francisco 49ers. 100%. He's great. And he's maybe one of the only guys I would kick the idea around for in sincerity. But everybody else is like, I need players. They need to go out there and actually perform, and I can find other people that can put them in decent spots to get the very best out of them. Because that's why Kevin isn't here anymore. At least that's what we're supposed to believe. Hopefully, I'm begging it wasn't to just throw us all a bone and give us our pound of flesh. They believe that you weren't getting the very best out of your players.
By the end, you probably weren't.
I think that's fair. You can find other people that can get better out of your players. It can happen. It's not just this group of 5 guys out there that can do it. Mike Tomlin gets a lot out of his guys. Easily. But you could see yourself going, if we're going to go to the 9-8 route, how many more of these guys where he has a hand in picking these guys? So you don't think about that in that case. Would one more of these first-round picks help us get over the hump? Because he would like to say he would like more players, wouldn't he?
Yeah. I don't think it's ever one player, though, unless it's a quarterback. Obviously that's the one. The quarterback changes everything. You've had the best.
I understand.
You've had the best defensive player in football now for how many years? And that equates to a 4-win season, a 5-win season,
but you had
a 4-win
him number 1
season.
overall. But I'm also talking about other. And yeah, I know Greg Newsome has not been a first-round pick, so I get that. All right, I get it. But and we've gone this around and around and around and around and around and around and around. But I still need players. I still need guys who are going to be able to contribute, and I can find other coaches. There are special coaches. There are Hall of Fame guys. I think that they would just rather stay in their positions and go and have their players and work with the players that they get for the first-round picks and have it all. Because how many of these times do we see Hall of Fame coaches get traded? Did Herm Edwards get traded? I'm trying to think. This is a scary sentence, what I'm saying. Herm Edwards is great personality, not a Hall of Fame coach. Good coach, not a Hall of Famer. Forget the Arizona State stuff. John Gruden, great personality, good coach, not a Hall of Fame coach. There's someone else I'm missing here. I was afraid to say the sentence.
I pulled up the list. It says Don Shula in 70, Bill Parcells in 97, Holmgren in 99, Belichick.
Holmgren ain't no Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Belichick in 2000.
Belichick wasn't coaching that team. Belichick doesn't count. Shula and Parcells. You want to give me Shula and Parcells?
Bruce
Arians. Even though Parcells was not staying, so I don't even want to hear. I don't want to even hear Parcells.
It was like a 6th-round pick.
Yeah, Bruce Arians was for a 6th-round pick in cash.
But Arians had come out and said, "I will only coach Tampa because."
What did the Dolphins?
Knew they were going to get Brady.
What did the Dolphins get from Baltimore for Shula?
It was a first-round pick to the Colts after violating tampering rules to get Shula. So they called it a trade.
So they were kind of
he wasn't staying anyway.
First, yeah.
I mean, you find these guys are not staying anyway. Now I know he wasn't staying anyway, but how many times do you have a Hall of Fame coach who wants to stay that they're going to trade the guy for a pick.
And before anybody jumps on us for it, everybody says he's not coaching this year. I get it. We're talking about the value of these picks versus coaches, and that's why I think it's a great philosophical debate. Like what coach? Like I said, I would trade almost anything for Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I would be willing to go into a talent deficit to get Shanahan because I think he can make up for it. There aren't many coaches I would say that for.
Shanahan would be tough to turn down because I know the argument would turn into, what do you want, Ken? Do you want Greg Newsome or do you want Kyle Shanahan? I lose that argument every time. That's a non-winner for me. I get that. But I don't think that he would come here for anything. Clearly, he did everything he could to leave. Coming up next, we've been fighting over this young man for so long until we've been fighting so hard that maybe we were so loud that we're scaring some people away. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. I want to get to you guys as well. There's people who want to yell at me. Coming up on The Fan. Friends, Ken Carman here.
headline segments. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
All day long. All day. All the time. At work.
923thefan.com and the Odyssey app.
Check it out.
YouTube Live. We're free. Watch us now. Snow day outside. Terrible weather. Watch us on YouTube. Yeah.
And the game is on tonight.
Game is on.
We don't want to say anything at the start of the show. We're like, are we sure this is happening? It's happening, folks. It's happening. We've had both coaches on.
Vikings in Green Bay.
If you missed either of the interviews we had with both head coaches,
almost called them the cucks.
They have both agreed to a duel.
I don't know why. Sorry, go ahead. I said not the Vikings, Green Bay. Yeah,
there's no love lost between these two coaches. They were heated. They were lobbing their pot shots at each other. So could get fiery on the floor. It's cold outside, but it get very warm inside with these two heated coaches.
Okay. I want to make sure it gets real nice and hot. Really hot. 216-474-0092. I'm going to get to you guys here. You want me to get to the calls now?
Go
about
ahead.
The coaching search thing? Okay. And then
I'd like to bring him in. Let's go.
I want to play Nick Wright's call. All right, was Nick Wright on with Afternoon Drive yesterday? What the hell was Nick doing?
No. He was just hosting
It was just
shows.
first things first. Okay. I did not get to hear very much yesterday. Obviously, we were getting ready for Snowmageddon. Yeah, sorry. All right. Let me get to MK in Vermont. Hello, MK.
Hey, guys. So I'm getting really mad here. And you guys are making me mad today because I think you're not being real honest, and I don't think it's not your fault because you can't be honest.
Why can't I be honest?
Because this coaching search is a poop sandwich. And I think nobody is saying that because we all want to give the Browns the benefit of the doubt and whatever and not really go after them. But you, for months, have said if you're going to call here and ask to fire somebody, you better have names. You better have a plan. And here's the Browns with this scattershot coaching search because they didn't have a plan. They can't get any of the people that they want. And so now you're telling me this morning that we're not hiring a coach to win. Nope, not going to hire a coach to win. We're going to hire a coach to buy some time. Well, that's why I watch football.
Well,
MK, to buy time.
MK, hold on here. I'm not going to run you off. I've said this whole time, I think they have two names that are right up at the tippy top. I think they'll either hit the reset to Jim Schwartz, which you can think whatever you want about that, and I think they're going to pick Mike McDaniel. I'm not denying that. Now, those weren't the names that I thought of right off the tippy top when this came in. So, but I mean, I think that they've had those kind of names right there all along. But I think they are going to do their quote unquote due diligence. I mean, if this ends up in Pettin land, and I don't mean to besmirch Mike Pettin because I do like Mike personally, but if this ends up in the 7th pick or anything like that, then yeah, go right on ahead. Especially according to what Mary Kay just said about the whole. Who the hell was it? Now I can't. Dan Quinn, the whole Dan Quinn thing. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they can't get those guys. You've got Monken. You've got Monken, who is taking a coordinator job after interviewing for our head coach job because nobody wants to be our head coach.
Correct.
We're looking at Grant Udinsky, who I've never heard of before. He's a 30-year-old unproven coordinator guy because they can't get the guys they want. The coaching search for the Browns candidates that they can get and the coaching search for the Ignatius head coach job, that Venn diagram is a circle. You cannot get people to come in here because your
but MK,
general manager who is in charge of the search can't bring in players.
MK, but I've been honest with you this entire process. I've never said that this was a good job. In fact, I argued with Anthony yesterday in the morning about that this job, Lima said that this job was better than the Steelers job. I told him he was nuts. I told him he was lying to you.
That's crazy.
We're lying to himself anyway.
Are you saying that regardless of the pool of candidates, and sometimes new guys emerge that you might have had, on a radar, but until you got a chance to talk to them, you're saying you should never fire a coach if the candidate pool is not robust enough? You can't fire your existing coach, no matter how bad it has gotten over the course of 2 years.
Of all of the people that we could get, Stefanski is better than all of them. And we cannot get anybody better because our talent is horrible. And our owner came out and said the dumbest thing ever, which is, I'm keeping my GM, and not only am I keeping my GM, I'm putting him in charge of the coaching search because he had one good draft, which if you're 30 other teams in the NFL, that wasn't a good draft, that was an average draft. Okay,
it was a good draft. Now his other drafts, I can't sit there and argue. I think anybody would look at it and say it's a good draft, MK. Now I know you're not happy. Listen, I know you're not happy. I'm trying to be honest and fair about all these things. And the whole time I'm talking about this, I've never once said it was a really good job. It ain't a good job. It ain't a good job. I'll call it what it is. That's why I'm very interested in a 30-year-old, because maybe he can bail us out of that situation. Or I'm interested in Jim Schwartz because he can get people really excited that are already on this football team.
Yeah, I think Schwartz is gonna say goodbye. I think I don't think he would probably want this job.
That would hurt big time.
That would suck.
I
MK,
think there's
I gotta let you go. And I thank you very much for the call. See, I'll be honest with everybody.
Just because
he's mad, now I'll let him be mad.
But we do this every coaching cycle. Just because we have not heard of the guys, or we have just caught wind of them recently and they're inexperienced, that also is not a disqualifier. This is what we've been talking about. Whether it was with Doug Gotlieb earlier today, or it's tough for fans because, all right, Harbaugh's name was out there, and so obviously we all grabbed it. So did every other football fan. Maybe not all the young ones, but there were a bunch of football fans who obviously would have done anything it took to get Harbaugh. But there are a lot of no-name coaches that had a quick rise, meteoric rise, that did end up being really good. Yeah. And obviously Mike Tomlin, look at his quick rise to the head coach of the freaking Pittsburgh Steelers. It can happen.
I'm in a position.
There's no guarantees in any of this. You could take retreads, and we've done that. We've taken retreads. That didn't work.
I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say
we've done it every way you can do it. None of it seems to have worked. Kevin Stefanski was the closest thing, but it got sour at the end.
I've lied to myself many times during a season. I'm not lying to you about this situation. This ain't a good situation. But if I just sit here and say, this sucks and we're not going to get anybody good, what's the point of even rooting for the football team? What's the point of calling myself a Browns fan? I got to find a way to dig out of it. And that doesn't absolve Andrew Berry of any of the responsibility. It doesn't absolve anybody involved with this of any of the responsibility. It doesn't. It doesn't. I have to try to take a bad situation and make it decent first before I take a bad situation and make it great. So, yeah, man, we're not going to probably win very, very many football games next year. They believe in New York that they can win some more football games. That's why John Harbaugh's going there, and that's why he's taking Todd Monken with him. And MK in Vermont is right. Todd Monken interviewed for this head coaching job and said, peace, thanks, but no thanks. I've worked with you guys before. We're moving on. Fair. Absolutely fair, because I've never been able to look anybody in the eye and tell you that this is the best job available, because it ain't. And I don't even think it's in the top half.
And every year, though, there are 6 to 10 job openings in the NFL. Is MK trying to make us all believe that...
No, MK's just a fan and he's mad.
I get it.
And he's allowed.
But is he trying to make us all believe that every team has the guy that they want, they fire their coach to go get that guy, and they get that guy? That almost never happens. That rarely happens. Like, you have a process for a reason. You also have to allow yourself to be open-minded in a process. You can't go in stuck dead set on a guy.
That's right. You're right about that. But what he may be saying is that we're giving them too much credit for being zoned in on a certain group of people. Because, listen, one of the worst things I could hear is that after this is done, say whoever they hire, If they bring in somebody and we find out that they really didn't have any idea and they threw it all together, I'll be sick to my stomach. I do believe, and I got nothing that tells me a bunch of crazy things. I think they thought that Mike McDaniel still might get let go down there. And I think that they thought that they were going to go and make an adjustment on offense because they think they're a lot closer than what we think. And so they have names that are in there. And I hope I'm right about that, because if I'm not right, I might feel worse about it, but I'll pick myself back up and we'll move on. Because MK's right. Lima, you and I'm not going to put your business out there. I've been a part of these things before in areas, okay? You don't just fire a guy and have 12 different names that you lay out there. I'll just say it right now. From some of the experiences that I've had already in 14 years on the Fan, I've been blessed to be asked my opinion of. And I've told people that you got 14 names over there. You should have done this differently, and you're going to ruin yourself. And yeah, we've been there, and I've ended up being right about that. I don't want to sit there and talk about it on the air all the time. You can, if you want to. I'll just say it on my end. So it's the same thing. You have to have an idea of what you want out of the candidate before you fire a guy. That's the entire point of why I got mad at Pony the other day. If I just go on the radio and say that somebody needs to be fired, that doesn't do anything. Just saying everything sucks and that people needs to be fired, you could say that at any time. And I'm sure we've all said it at any time when we've been mad. But just being mad all the time ain't going to get me to Tuesday now, is it?
But I guess I just disagree with the thought that if you think things went so far south and you thought it was irredeemable, irreparable, and I think that's where most of us had gotten to with Stefanski, I don't think you don't fire him because there's a bunch of no-namer candidates in the pool. Like, you're telling me there's not a candidate, there's not legit candidates to be head coaches every year in the NFL, and you're just supposed to keep the guy that you had, even if you thought maybe in the locker room there were some things that were uneven? I don't know.
There was one time, and by the way, going back to the call, I'll go back to the call one more time because we're gonna end up having to go to break, and I want to play this Nick Wright audio for everybody. But it's also, and I will give MK credit for this. Well, I disagreed. It's happened before. That's why I hold such a grudge against Joe Banner. That's why. Because you sold ownership on this idea that you couldn't provide. And then you were left with nothing. And then it led us to even more failing. That's why I hold such a grudge against the guy. Plus, he goes on social media and acts like he's God's gift to everything. But he made my life as a Browns fan far worse. Like Rob Chudzinski, whatever. Like, you made these decisions. You move on from him. Maybe he wouldn't have been the best guy, but you move on so quickly and nobody wanted you. And so we ended up with the situation that we were in for another 2 years, and then we moved on to another situation. Like, these things all play off of each other. That's why there is a lack of trust there. So that's why, and guys, to be honest with you, that's why Kevin got 6 years. Because you have to build up trust amongst the rest of the NFL and amongst the rest of the agents that you're not just going to turn around and handcuff the guy that you're hiring in the next year. That's why it takes a little bit to get the smell off you after a while. When you let guys like Joe Banner go do what he did. Didn't know we'd get to this level here on a bad day, on a snow day here. My gosh. At least my blood's pumping, huh? All right, we actually just argued about an old man. We'll argue about a young man. We've argued about him so often that maybe we got so loud we scared some people away. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on 92.3 The Fan and free on YouTube Live.
Anthony Lima for Fanatics Sportsbook. You've heard me talk about the partnership.
York, the Ravens offensive coordinator, recently interviewed for the Browns head coaching spot. Listen to the Fan Rewind weeknights 11 to midnight. All the best segments from all our shows can always listen on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
I'd get that worked into a shoot. And the 9 o'clock hour on a Thursday, when we're going to have an event tonight over at the CSU game as they're taking on Green Bay, not Green Bay, Wisconsin, UW Green Bay. Home of the Phoenix, home of the fighting Doug Gotliebs. Literally, I mean, he threw a chair earlier this year, for crying out loud. So they got that going for him. But he got them turning around. They're 10-8. Guys, it's just, there's a lot of this stuff that you pay for. Coaches got long memories about some of this stuff. Their buddies got long memories. Agents got long memories about this. And it's like, man, you still pay the price for mistakes in the past. And it's also where it's like, hey, man, what's the point of being a sports fan if I'm just going to, yeah, I'll tell you when things are bad. It ain't good. This is not a great job. It's not a great job. It's one of the 32 NFL head coaching jobs. And frankly, it's why, it's part of the reason I am so interested in Yudinsky. Now, I'll get to that here in a second, but when I got upset with what you just brought up, it's like, yeah, man, you asked if we could even have Joe Banner on the show. I don't want Joe Banner on the show because I'm going to cussing at the guy because I can't stand him. I cannot stand him.
I was hoping to talk politics with him.
He led him down a path. He led this team down a path that you still pay for. You still pay for. You probably got a second year. You have to show that you have some sort of patience, that you're not crazy as an organization. That's why, I'm telling you, that's why they are so hesitant. They're trying to learn from the histories of what happened before. Now, if you just hate them all and think that I'm just telling you stories here just because I'm a big Browns fan, hey, that's fine too. I do want them to win, sometimes to a fault. Okay. But I'm just telling you the truth of what I know. You're still paying for bad decisions that were made a decade ago that some goof talked you into. And so, yeah, maybe you would have moved on from Kevin Stefanski last year, but everybody in the world's telling you he's a good coach. At least everybody in the NFL world's telling you he's a good coach. Fine, you do something like that. Well, who talked you into putting this thing into 1-15 and 0-16? So you went through that. You took hell from the fan base, and the fan base was upset about it to the point where they got apathetic. In 2016, you bring in great players, you're trying to get this thing in the right direction, and then all of a sudden that's going to blow up in your face because you gave somebody too much power too early in their career, and then he's gone down to Tampa, and he's still the third best quarterback in the draft, but he's better than what we have now, so I can't even argue that. So then you have that situation playing into you, so you're trying to figure that situation out. You have a quarterback that none of your fans want to see, that you still have to pay the freight on. You have this other quarterback that has a massive fan base and sells a lot of jerseys, and hell, he'd be a pretty likable guy if we weren't just all bickering with each other on the internet, and you got to deal with all this. And so you don't want to get rid of people that you're trying to trust because you put them in a situation where you've said many times over that you want them to grow into the situation. So now you've seen this last draft. If you're ownership and you saw Andrew Berry's last draft, you're thinking maybe this is where he grows into the position. But then you don't know if you could say that next year, because if you go out and you draft the wrong guys, then you're going to go into another 6-win season, and you don't want to have to deal with all that because the fans are going to turn on that guy again, which they they already have. And we got to put this situation good with a quarterback. I got to find the right head coach. I got to make sure that the general manager still is able to do his job. And there's a lot going on here. And so when I said that the Steelers' job was better yesterday, yeah, because anybody who goes in there is going to get at least 4 years before they're even judged by the ownership. The fans will be the fans. If they go 6-12 next year, or 6-11 next year, they'll boo whoever's face off. It doesn't matter what Chris Shula's last name is. They will talk trash to him in and out of the tunnel the whole time. And if they win 7 games the next year, they'll do it again because it's the NFL. But Chris Shula or Nate Scheelhaus or anybody else, Anthony, who interviews for that job knows that they ain't going to be judged unless they make a personal fool of themselves and embarrass the franchise off the field. They're not going to be removed from that job for 4 years, if anything. So, yeah, it sucks. And there's many more teams like the Browns than there are like the Steelers. That's another thing. So, yeah, Oh, and then we got to deal with this. Here's Nick Wright on First Things First, arguing why the job ain't so great.
The worst job opening is the Cleveland Browns. Oh, wow. Just awful ownership, a brutal division. They have $136 million cap dollars still to pay Deshaun Watson.
That's ridiculous.
And I would also, listen, if you really think Shador is a star, then you pump him up. I think Shador is actually, if I'm looking at jobs, almost for a future head coach, a potential net negative, just in that, man, if he doesn't play well, there's going to be a portion of the fan base that says I'm sabotaging him. Like it's just harder than a situation of a blank slate at quarterback. So they're the worst job open.
Wrong. Audio courtesy FS1. Love Nick. Wrong. Nick, it's hard to get into Cleveland. Spend a couple of days in Cleveland with me. Spend a couple of days in Cleveland. You see, it's not the Browns fan base. You will have Shador fans, obviously we've been living it, who think that the Browns are sabotaging and Kevin Stefanski's a terrible individual and the devil and all that other stuff. But that's where the internet lives. Nick spends a lot of time on the internet and a lot of time on Twitter. You go out in the streets, there's plenty of Browns fans who are like, I mean, I'd like to build up the offensive line and I'd like to get a weapon and for a wide receiver, and the quarterback class isn't so good, and he seems like a nice kid. Go ahead and let him take a whack at it next year. Let's see where it goes. It's everybody who's worked into a shoot over the internet who's like, this guy's got to go. And I don't want to name names, but we know who I'm talking about.
A few things here, because I don't think it's the worst job. That's ridiculous when they have the defense. Their defensive unit is better than any other unit on any of the other job openings.
If it's the worst job, it's not the worst job because of Shador, and you definitely have an owner who's willing to give you anything in the world.
Now, that the whole thing about Haslam and ownership, when I do listen to national podcasts or national voices, we have to be fair. I mean, Jimmy Haslam comes up as one of the worst owners in sports every time. You and I have debated aspects of that. Certainly, the money, like you just brought up, I mean, he'll spend whatever it takes. So how is that the worst owner in sports? Well, they'll say organizationally. Say, well, he left the organization alone for 6 years. I mean, has he not? I'm sure, like every owner, you might have a guy you want drafted later in the draft. We're years removed from the Johnny Manziel thing. Like, if you're still docking him for that, rightfully so, he did it. But has he done that since? Okay, you might say, well, he might have done it with Shador. Okay, that's in the fourth round, or that's in the later rounds. That's not the third round, fifth round.
It all depends on what their record was. I mean, you've had 2 seasons of the playoffs in the last 6 years. Nobody said boo to a goose about ownership in 2 seasons over the last 6 years. And there's always been the conversation about the trade because of the Johnny stuff. Everybody believes about the trade. You and I know differently about the trade, the big nasty trade. I mean, we all know that in a sec too.
But in recent days, Mitchell Schwartz said Jimmy Haslam was fine. We did normal exit interviews. We talked to him. Threw a nice Christmas party. Roddy McLeod talked about that too. I think that's just something that has become, because they've lost, and he made a lot of coaching changes right away, and then Johnny Manziel. And that's always going to be on the resume. Those are 3 big things all on the resume. But I would argue he's done some things since then that have kind of evened things up. In the end, everybody ends up hating their ownership. I mean, that's just a fact. When in New England they moved on, the Belichick thing was over, the Brady thing was over, people were ready to jump all over Kraft. Well, then they got Drake May, and they got a great coach, or looks to be a great coach, and now no one's going to say anything. But everywhere else, people seem to hate their owners over time. It is kind of funny, though. It was said when they said how many dollars were still on the Deshaun Watson deal?
136
and
million.
Then I think it's Kevin Wildes or someone goes, that's ridiculous. Funny thing about it is when they got Deshaun Watson, because nothing's changed. That part of it has not changed other than them moving the money a little bit.
Do we have Nick when they got Deshaun Watson?
I'd like to hear Kevin Wildes when 12 teams in the NFL were after Deshaun Watson. The money was always going to be the money. Yeah. Whether you guaranteed it or not, yes, obviously that's a different story, but most people thought he'd be good wherever he went. Nobody thought he would become the worst quarterback in the league. And so the money was always, he was probably going to get another contract. There was going to be more money had he have played a couple of good years. So that's ridiculous. The money was always going to be the money. He was always going to get paid a lot of money.
It's easy to say that.
Regardless of where he ended up going. The last part of that is, here's where I'll disagree with you, Ken.
Okay.
I kind of think Kevin Stefanski left Cleveland going, I had all these ex-NFL players and national pundits say that I sabotaged one of my quarterbacks. That would not have happened with any other quarterback other than Shedeur. You didn't have Dylan Gabriel's fans going, "You're sabotaging Dylan Gabriel. You hate Hawaiians."
But I
like
think
that was never said, and it's never been said.
But
in the history of football, until the Shedeur fans got a hold of this,
and I do think
so. I do think that's a factor in this.
I do think that Kevin may have to answer to that in other locker rooms because it is a national perspective. But I think here in Cleveland, I think it's different. And I think that would be, and if a coach goes in there wondering that, I think it would be an eye-opening experience to just hear from anybody. Now, no coaching candidate can hear this from anybody else because they can't walk down the street because we all know who they are. Even a guy like, I'm sure everybody knows what Grant Udinski looks like right now. And he does kind of look like William Regal.
Oh.
He does kind of remind me of William Regal. Oh, am I off on that?
What was his other name? He had a
Lord Steven Regal.
Lord Steven Regal, yes.
Yeah. Hey, you want a 6-minute match with Goldberg, you're getting a 6-minute match with Goldberg, whether he likes it or not.
That's right.
Anywho,
you get a 10-minute entrance and then a 6-minute match.
If any one of their agents wanted
Security
to play it,
guys.
it's the internet is not a real place, guys. The internet's not a real place. And they can make it abundantly clear. I'm sorry, you as a franchise, if you really don't think the young man's very good at all, then just go and get somebody else, and then we'll all know the truth. If you go in there with these 3 guys this year and he doesn't get his fair shake, yeah, people are going to go nuts. But if you just go, you know what? We've hired Grant Udinski, and then in the month of March, after the new league year, they've traded for Mac Jones. Well, you know what? What are you going to do? And maybe you do move on from them. Maybe you move on from Shedeur Sanders, and that's the way it goes. Maybe it is a clean break. But I think that a lot of people who are looking at it as just Browns fans with boots on the ground in Northeast Ohio are saying, yeah, I think they're saying the same thing I am. Yeah, I know what the charts say. I know I've seen worse in a Browns uniform. We're not out of the woods yet. I don't think anybody who's a Browns fan is just crowning him the future of the franchise. But I think that a lot of them agree with me. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm right, that they don't want to go and make some massive investment and have to go even further into this than what they've already got into. So if you're able to make a move for Mac Jones or you want to make a move for one of the other, fine, let's see where it goes. I don't think it's going to be near the massive investment that you would have to make in the first round for a first-round quarterback for a guy who had 15 starts last year. Ty Simpson, I'm talking about, back into the first round. And you know what? If I end up ruining that day and eating these words next year when Ty Simpson's lighting up the league, like some people are firing off at me about Jackson Dart, when you had every opportunity to call in here during that entire 4-month period for Jackson Dart, and one guy only did want to take Jackson Dart at number 2 overall.
Didn't Bubba get to coach him?
It doesn't matter because they traded back to number 5. That doesn't matter at all.
Didn't Bubba get to coach him? Wasn't that Jackson Dart in the Senior Bowl?
Yeah. What are you saying? Well, no, because Kevin was down there.
Yeah.
So Bubba didn't put the Maloik on Jackson Dart.
No, I just mean the Browns had they had a little more FaceTime than maybe some of the other coaches.
Oh, yeah. And maybe they don't know what the hell they're looking at. A lot of people have been accusing Kevin Stefanski of that for a long time. Maybe he doesn't know what he's looking at. We'll find out coming up. But I'm willing to make an investment. I just don't want to make the ultimate investment for another guy that's going to waste time. Like, that's where I'm at right now. Like, it didn't work out with Dante Moore. He's going to go back to college. All right, fine. Let's see if Shedeur's got something, or if you guys really feel that strongly about Mac Jones. You know I like Mac Jones and that offense over there in San Francisco. I think that if he does have some legitimate coaching with him, he can be good. I think when he doesn't have a defensive coordinator running his offense in his second year in the NFL, you might be able to get some good play out of him. I think not putting a defensive coordinator with him to run his offense, you're going to get good play out of him. But give Shedeur a whack at it. Or, hey, if you want to make it a true competition, I got nothing but time as a Browns fan. You want to go put Deshaun back out there and get your $46 million worth? Go right on ahead. I don't want him to fool me. And all of a sudden we're making extensions and things like that. But I've seen worse, and I probably still will. I mean, if we go into next year and the class is better and You got a chance to go up to number 1, and I got to get a tattoo because of the Arch Manning thing. Fine, I'll get the tattoo. I don't care. If if Dante Moore goes out and he's gangbusters again, fine. Dante Moore's great. Lenore Sellers might be great. Julian Sayin might be great, etc., etc., etc. It's not about just replacing him. I want to make the right investment, and that's where I think a lot of us are just on completely different wavelengths there. Completely different wavelengths. 216-474-0092. I'm going to get to some of you guys on that. It's not replace him at all costs. It's replace him for better. And I know that some people are going to look at the charts and say, anything's better. Look at the chart, Ken. Turn on the tape. Turn on the film. And there's a lot of things that you're not going to like. And then there's some things going, yeah, there's gold in them there hills. I wonder if we worked with him a little bit. Maybe he could be a little bit better. Or there's a quarterback there that we can work with. Maybe he'd be a little bit better. And maybe he won't be. That's why, you know what? You end up hiring a 30-year-old, you're going to give him more than 1 year, I'd imagine. And so maybe you'll find out this year. You guys coming up. Ken Carman, Tone Master General. CSU game tonight, 7 o'clock. We're going. Please join us on The Fan.
Brad Evans here to help. just spray. And new Febreze Air instantly restores just clean freshness. Smell you later, odor. Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Listen to 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn app.
Social media reactions brought to you by
Shiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
YouTube comments have been spicy today.
That's a real quick. We have to give it up to the Cavs. We called it a litmus test game yesterday. They won. They silenced the haters like Owen.
I didn't read a response yet on social media. Well, I guess I don't have to.
I say the real test comes Friday when all of their good outside shooters are
out. Yeah.
You can't, well, now you're just moving the basket.
I know.
Not the goalpost, the basket. We're talking basketball.
I play by rock and jock rules, Ken.
When it becomes a 50-point basket, we're in luck.
Bill Bellamy on the show by any chance
Dan
this summer?
Cortez will be in one seat. Bill Bellamy in the other. We will put one seat 20 feet high in the air.
Now that MTV's gone, can we take rock and jock?
Yeah, of course we can, and you'll see it tonight on full display.
Okay, good. Oh, yeah, at CSU. At CSU tonight, thank you very much, as the CSU Vikings take on the Green Bay Phoenix. One coached by Rob Summers, the head coach of your CSU Vikings. The other one coached by Doug Gotlieb, formerly but still kind of Fox Sports Radio and Fox FS1, but the head coach of the Green Bay Phoenix. And he joined us earlier today. Outstanding. Good stuff. And we will be at that game, and apparently there will be a mechanical bull.
We'll see about that.
And there will be blood.
Are you going to get on the bull? I got a bad back. I don't know if I want to get on the bull. And apparently
that could correct it.
They asked
Haven't you seen the AI videos of the chiropractors correcting some of their clients?
Chiropractor night at Wallstein Center
and throwing them into the drywall?
Into the wall, yeah.
Yeah, those are real.
Suplexed into the wall.
Also like the ones where they have like a ice pick and a sledgehammer in the
Seen that one too,
or the person coming down the ramp in the tow motor. My favorite one was the guys on the boat and the life jacket blows up and takes the kid out of there. That was my favorite.
I hope all that's AI. We don't know.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, there should be. Maybe there will be a mechanical bull. I don't know, weather permitting. But either way, weather permitting for you, get on over there, have some fun with us. It's going to be a good time for everybody. We're looking forward to it. CSU taking on Green Bay tonight. Hopefully we get a T. Maybe I get thrown out. Maybe they do what Vince Carter couldn't do and throw me out of the game.
Finish the job.
Hopefully, and if I'm able to get on the bull and stay on the bull, there will be no full frontal nudity the way it was at Kent back in the day. 216-474-0092. Dave and Stowe has been more than patient. He's next up on the Fan. Hello, Dave.
Hey, how you doing today? I'm going to talk about Mike McDonald. You know, he's a disciple of Mike Shanahan, but we're forgetting one thing about Mike McDonald.
Wait, are you talking about McDaniel or are you talking about the Seahawks head coach?
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking about the smooth singer from the 70s.
Go ahead.
You know, we played Miami. We played Miami during the year, and he was on the hot seat. And after we beat him, the Browns beat him. He was twice as hot on the hot seat, but then he righted the ship in Miami, and they had a pretty good year. So coming here to Cleveland, he would need that experience, especially with Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders, with all the other extracurricular stuff that goes on with those two. We're going to need somebody that can stabilize that locker room and keep it, where it's supposed to do. And hey, I want to give you props today, Ken Carman. I don't know, Lima might not like that, but speaking as a coach, if you don't have the horses or the guys, the athletes to coach, I don't care how good of a coach you are or will be. You got to have the people to coach, and that's what it all boils down.
So I came up with a saying way back.
Thank you very much, Dave.
You want to give Ken credit. I've always said it's not the X's and O's. It's actually the Jimmy and Joes. That's what I've said. So you can give Ken all the credit you want. I came up with that.
That's good.
That was your take. That was your take. That was your opinion.
I used to say Bo, but people got mad because they're like, well, when's the last good Bo since Bo Jackson? So I changed to Joe because of Joe Theismann.
It's Theismann.
And Montana.
It's Montana. Jonah in Columbus, you're next up on the Fan. Hello, Jonah.
What's up, guys? Hey, I was just thinking, obviously a lot of people wanted John, no doubt. But now we have this chance to go out and we're talking about these young guys. And I know Cleveland has done that in the past. I know we obviously did that with Kevin. We got a younger guy. He had some experience, but, we took a bet on him hoping he'd become our cornerstone guy. But I think we're faced with another opportunity like that where we got now Chris Shula in the mix, or we got the Rams OC, or we got plenty of OCs out here that have come from really good organizations. And honestly, I think of the Rams as like the Miami Heat of the NFL, where any guy that comes out of that organization, I'm willing to at least take a flyer on because that's a stable organization. McVay's a great coach. Any guy that's a disciple or have learned from McVay, I'm willing to at least listen to because he feels like a really competent coach. And so I'm not necessarily down on taking a younger guy. I'm not down on taking a guy that's not as experienced, quote unquote, to see if we can get a cornerstone guy. Because I'm not sure Harbaugh has another run like he did with the Ravens. I mean, it's been a long time since he's won a Super Bowl, and I'm not sure he's got another run like that in him. But I'm willing to take a young guy that we can see we can build our franchise on. But here's my question for you guys.
Yeah.
We're talking about Nick Wright saying that this is the worst job in the NFL. I was just at the gym. First things first is on the TV. He's ranking jobs. The Browns are the worst again. He's still talking about it.
Why is our YouTube not on?
I think
put our YouTube
you got to
on
put the YouTube on at the gym. No, they'll probably have a replay of it maybe because in that show in the afternoon. I don't know. Go ahead, Joe.
Call the owner of the gym. It's not my fault. But my question is there not some allure to this job that says, hey, this team, they've been below average for a quarter century, and I believe in myself so much that I think I can go in there and change that narrative, and there's my ticket to the Hall of Fame pretty much immediately. If I can turn this franchise around, if I can do something big with this, I mean, I'm a Hall of Famer at that point in my mind. Obviously, Cleveland fans would say that quicker than anybody else, but is there not some allure to this job that says, hey, if I can turn this around, like I believe in myself so much that I can turn this thing around?
It just, honestly, it depends. And this is why I'm really in on Yadinsky here. And Jonah, thank you very much for the call, because I'm thinking, okay, if you end up doing something like that, it depends on what's important to a man. If just having the tools to win is important to a man, well, then, yeah, you're not going to be at the top of the list of these jobs here. Baltimore's at the top, higher than you. Pittsburgh's higher than you. We can debate some of the other ones out there. Okay, fine. But if you're Yadinsky and you're 30 years old, and you do get practical about it, you got to weigh the pros and cons. If you're successful, you're a legend. If you're successful, you're a legend. You're the next Sean McVay. You're the next Kyle Shanahan. That puts you in the pantheon of the generations. Bill Walsh. I mean, you name the names they're there for you. If you're not successful, well, first, you're not just going to get one and done unless you go and embarrass yourself in public. So as long as you uphold the good name or you make the franchise look good, then you should be okay.
If you wear a Pittsburgh started it shirt.
If you get let go and you're 33 years old and you go back and be an offensive coordinator, you'll probably be a head coach again by the time you're 37. You make life-changing money. I'm sure he makes a fine salary now, but you make life-changing money. So it makes a fan look at it and say, hey, I know he's a little bit young. If he hits, it's an incredible thing. If he doesn't hit, yeah, it sucks and it wastes our time, but it might be the guy with the I can't believe it's like I'm talking quarterbacks here, Tone. It's like the guy has the highest ceiling out of any of them. Where if you get McDaniel, it's going to sound safe.
We have interviewed Kenny.
Maybe he ends up being good.
The Browns have interviewed or reported to interview basically every type of candidate you can imagine. Have you heard anything about any college coaches?
No. Actually, no.
You find that interesting?
I mean, Cignetti was brought up as a...
Yeah. Can you imagine if Cignetti took an interview with the Browns right after winning a national championship? Wowzers.
Well, what was Indiana known before Cignetti got there? Maybe he wants a project.
Oh, I was going to say the school that unfairly kicked out Bobby Knight.
Jeez, can you put a lid on it?
I mean, guy went undefeated.
For the love of God.
Would have been a lifetime contract.
I know my rap is not the greatest.
Did they bury him upside down? Okay, obviously someone had to say it. All right, join us tonight at the game. Lima, we will talk to another coach who threw a chair this season. Join us tonight, won't you? Have a great day, my friends. Take care. CSU tonight, Wolstein Center
Brave
tonight.
the conditions. Get down there.
Get down there
Let's
now.
go.
Abominable snowmen, let's go.
Hey, sounds good. Where's your entourage now?
Cool, I got on the last show.
Oh, boy.
This is an Odyssey Sports Minute.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.